The roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Baxter,
Here.
Commissioner Flores, Mayor Marino,
Here.
Commissioner Powell, Commissioner Sachs,
Here.
Commissioner Weiss,
Here.
Commissioner Woodward.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Vice Mayor Baxter is going to lead us in the pledge and the invocation.
Dear God, we seek your help with our affairs today. Bless this meeting with your divine intelligence and help us to make the best use of our own. We are of a diverse opinion here, yet we wish to reach an agreement satisfactory for all. Please share your wisdom with us to help us do right by all concerned. Thank you for your heavenly blessing. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have proof of publication?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. And can we get a swearing in, please?
All those wishing to testify or speak on today's quasi-judicial items, please rise and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion to receive and file the proof of publication.
Second.
We'll go with Commissioner Flores and Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? All opposed? See, that motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. Any additions, deletions, or substitutions?
Yes. Okay. Item number 3, DOA CA 2025-00415, Somerset Shops. Amend to reorder the agenda and move item 3 to the regular agenda. To modify the development order amendment, overall conditions, specifically in Exhibit C1, to correct the numbering for health condition 1, and landscape condition number 1 is proposed for deletion. Item number 4, workforce housing program waiver of right of first refusal. We're modifying the agenda to remove this and postpone to a future date. On the regular agenda, B5, ZVABN PDD-CA 2024-01273, Leader Self-Storage, modifying our staff recommendation to correct the exhibit numbers, Exhibit C1 through Exhibit C4. Item 6, SVZBZ CA 2025-00428, Neighborly Living, correcting also the staff recommendation and the correct exhibit number C1 through C2. Amend the Class A conditional use Exhibit C2, specifically site design condition number 1 with add and struck out language. Item number 7, ABN ZVPDD CA 2025-00406, Westgate Village MEPD, again correcting the staff recommendation and Exhibit C1 through C3, modifying Class A conditional use conditions in Exhibit C1 to correct the header of that exhibit number, and landscape perimeter conditions 1 and 2 with the struck out language. Item 8, Z 2025-00316, natural area rezoning, correcting the districts. There's 3 districts that this proposed rezoning affects. Adding in a motion that because this item requires 2 hearings, we would like them both to be held at 9:30 a.m., correcting the motion for first reading and motion for permission to advertise. Item number 9, SCA 2024-0008, Boca Raton. We've had some additional public correspondence, so that's attached in this document. Item 10, DOA CA 2024-499, Boca Raton Commerce Center 3, modifying Exhibit C for the development order amendment to delete engineering condition number 1. Item 11, Townhouse Regulations, PPR Phase 2, correcting the motion for the adoption of the ordinance. Item 12, Westgate Community Redevelopment Area Overlay, reordering the agenda to move this item before number 7, so we have the 3 Westgate items together. Item 13, zoning approvals relative to an informative presentation, adding in a staff recommendation and motion. A, approval of permission to advertise for first reading. There will need to be 2 hearings on this, so striking out that and adoption. The BCC to receive and file a business impact estimate, and there'll need to be a 3rd motion, very similar to number 8, which is allowing these hearings to be held during the day rather than any after 5 p.m. And then we have an addendum for item 14, the City of Boynton Beach, Palmyra and Bamboo Lane annexation update, modifying to add this item. It will be presented by the Planning Division. There's a summary and a motion. And that's it.
So basically, you're just going to guide us along as we
Yes.
go through this, because there's way too many changes to mark down. So
Yes.
you will help us today with making sure that every agenda item is where it's properly supposed to be.
Correct.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, may I get a motion to approve the item? Thank you. Commissioner Flores first, Commissioner Woodward second. All in favor, all opposed. See that motion carries 6-0. Would anybody like to pull anything from the consent agenda?
Yeah, the remaining items on consent are just 1 and 2. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Sachs, your light is on.
Thank you. Now, we got a new numbering system here. Let me see let me see. It was item number 3. Is that still on consent, or has that been moved? Hasn't it?
We moved that to
move it
regular
a
agenda.
regular agenda?
Yes.
So, Mayor Marino, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Disclosures, though, before we move on from consent. Anyone have any disclosures from items 1 or 2? Commissioner Flores?
No disclosures.
Thank you. Commissioner Sachs?
On the consent agenda, item number 1, El Toro, none. Item number 2, Great Expectations, none.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward?
No disclosures?
I have no disclosures also. Vice Mayor Baxter?
Yes, Madam Mayor, for item number 1, I had no written communications, verbal, yes, with Jennifer Morton, and no site visit. And number 2, no disclosures.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss?
Thank you, Mayor. On item number 1, El Toro Meat Market, my staff spoke with Lauren McClellan, and on item number 2, no disclosure.
Thank you very much. Okay. Remind me, did we get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sachs, a second from Commissioner Wise. All in favor, all opposed. See that that motion carries 6-0. So now we will take up item 3 on the consent agenda, which is Somerset Shops. Do we have any presentations?
I'm not sure if the applicant is here, but typically at this moment for Somerset Shops, if the applicant would come to the mic for a presentation or discussion.
I believe someone is moving forward. And before we do that, actually, I'll take disclosures to make sure everybody has put their disclosures in. Commissioner Weiss, we'll start on your side this time.
On item number 3, received email correspondence been filed with the clerk.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
No disclosures for item number 3, Mayor.
Thank you. Verbal, my staff spoke with Brian Terry, and I've filed written communications with the clerk. Thank you. Commissioner Woodward?
Thank you, Mayor. I had staff spoke with Brian Terry, verbal communication and email correspondence filed with the clerk.
Thank you. Commissioner Sachs?
Thank you. On item number 3, verbal communications with Lisa Reeves, in-person meeting with Brian Terry, Lisa Reeves, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores?
I have written communications with Brian Terry. That's it.
Okay. And you're up.
Good morning. Brian Terry with Insight Studio here on behalf of the applicant Somerset Shops. I have a presentation. I wasn't anticipating giving that presentation, but if everybody would like to see it, I'm happy to do it. I'm not sure exactly the reason why it was pulled from consent, if there was interest from one particular party.
Commissioner Sachs, your light is on.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know why it was pulled either, to tell you the truth. It's in my district.
Okay.
We've had a lot of communication. The only thing I'm going to say in your favor is that you are committed to 16 spots.
That's absolutely correct.
And that is on the record, and that is your commitment. So, and again, do you want to say something, Mayor?
I was going to say, make the motion.
I'm going to make the motion. But unless anybody wants to hear a presentation, it's in my district, it's fine.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. And this is with regard to Somerset Shops. I've moved, we have a second.
So we have two motions, actually, a motion to approve the resolution and a motion to adopt. I'm sorry, adopt the resolution approving item 3A and adopt a resolution approving item 3B.
B, perfect.
Okay. So I had a motion from
Sachs.
Commissioner Sachs. I had a second from both the Vice Mayor and Commissioner Woodward, so we have plenty of seconds. All in favor? All opposed? See that motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
you.
sir, for your commitment. Thank you.
All right. We are now done with the consent agenda. We are moving on to the regular agenda as item 4, the workforce housing has been pulled. We are now on item 5, correct?
5.
Okay. This is leader self-storage. Would anyone like a presentation?
Disclosures.
I love the whisper, disclosures. All righty. Okay. Commissioner Flores, any disclosures for item 5?
Yes, I have written communications with Josh Nichols, also verbal communication with Josh Nichols and Sean Leader.
Thank you.
And no
Commissioner
side
Sachs.
visits, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. District 5, Leader Self-Storage, has verbal communications and phone calls with Aaron Less, and that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. I had verbal communication with Josh Nichols.
Thank you. I have no disclosures. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On item number 5, no written disclosures, but I did have verbal communication with Josh Nichols and no site visit.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss?
No disclosure.
All righty. We have no disclosures, and I think Commissioner Flores made a motion.
I'll second.
I will give the second to Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? All opposed? See that motion carries 6-0, but the motion would be for item 5A, B, and C, D, and E. Correct?
Yes.
All righty. There you go. Let the record reflect the motion for all 5 of those. Thank you. 6? Are we on 6?
Now we'll move to 12 first, which is the Westgate Community Redevelopment Area Overlay Code Revisions. This item is before the board for request for permission to advertise. Zoning staff has been working with the Westgate Redevelopment Agency staff to modify their overlay requirements. They're deleting references to the number of allowable units, replacing it with a reference to the comprehensive plan, revising the Westgate density bonus pool limits of approval, revising our parking requirements, and providing a more urban calculation, incorporating some alternative parking requirements, and deleting reference to loading, as it is more restrictive than what we have in Article 6, our parking and loading requirements. Would you like any additional presentation other than that? But this is for first reading and permission to advertise for first reading and adoption October 23rd.
Commissioner Woodward, your light is on.
Thank you. I did have a question on the, it says redevelopment loading option. Is this about loading parking, or is this something else? I've had a few different conversations. Is this about parking? Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
It's not about parking.
Okay.
Existing in the overlay, now, good morning, sorry, Denise Pennell with the Westgate CRA. There is a section of the overlay right now within parking and streets that's titled redevelopment loading option. It's quite detailed. It's been there for quite some time, maybe since 2005, 2006, providing alternatives for parking in projects that are mixed use, but it was limiting in terms of business or building size. Since that was put into the overlay, Article 6 has been updated for loading, and there are alternatives to loading in Article 6 which are less restrictive. So we're proposing to delete that section in favor of reverting to Article 6 for loading and alternatives.
Okay, so by doing that, we still would have loading parking in this area. This doesn't remove this altogether.
No, we still have loading requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner White.
Thank you. First off, I want to thank staff, and I want to thank Westgate CRA for updating this. And so I'd like to go ahead and make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Weiss, a second from Vice Mayor Baxter. All in favor? All opposed? See that motion carries, and this would be to approve staff recommendations for items 12A and 12B.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much. Now we're going back to
Now we'll go back to number 6. This is SVZB ZCA 2025-428 Neighborly Living. And the requests before the board include an official zoning map amendment and a Class A conditional use. And we can have the agent come to the podium for a presentation.
Okay, before we do that, because I don't want to forget, we're going to do disclosures.
Disclosure.
Thank you. All right, on item number 6, Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. On item number 6, Neighborly Living Westgate, I had verbal communication with Kurt Jetta, Josh Bishop, Catherine O'Donnell, and Arsene Kalustian. And email correspondence have been filed with the clerk.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I've had written communications. Emails have been filed with the clerk. I've had verbal communication with Josh Bishop, Kurt Jetta, Arsene Kalastian, and I'm not sure if I spoke with Catherine O'Donnell, but we're adding her for good measure. No site visit, thank you.
Thank you. For myself, I had verbal communications with Kurt Jetta, Arsene Kalostian? Kalostian, okay.
I probably tortured it too, but it'll work.
Josh Bishop, Catherine O'Donnell, and Bradley Miller, and I had written correspondence that I filed with the clerk. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. I had verbal communication with Arsene Kalustian, Bradley Miller, Catherine O'Donnell, Josh Bishop, and I'm going to add Kurt Jetta too because it was a phone call and I'm not sure how many.
And it was a
were on
long
there.
time ago.
Yeah. And email correspondence were filed.
Commissioner Sachs.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. District 5 has had verbal communications and conference call with Arsene Kalustian, Kurt Jetta, Catherine O'Donnell, Bradley Miller, Josh Bishop. In-person meeting with Josh Bishop, Arsene Kalustian, Kurt Jetta, and we have received and filed our emails. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores.
Only written correspondence with Bradley Miller and Arsene Kalustian. No verbal and no site visits.
Thank you. Would anybody like a presentation? No. We have one card.
Juliana Atalora.
Good morning, everyone. This was actually kind of short-sighted for me. I was not expecting to be here this morning, but I was recently told about this project not so long ago, and I have a property that's literally right next door to it. And we have several ones, especially in the Westgate area, and obviously this development is really concerning to me. We all want responsible growth that strengthens West Palm Beach without sacrificing our quality of life is really the only thing that is my concern really at this point. We welcome new housing, of course, but what we cannot afford is poor planning that ignores reality and burdens to our community. The problem is realism versus code. This proposal for a 38-unit studio complex with only one parking space per apartment may meet the minimum code, but it ignores how many people actually live there. It is unrealistic to believe that each unit will house just one car, especially in today's economy. Most households are dual income. Even in small studios, couples share space, and more often than not, that means 2 working adults, each with their own car. That's at least 76 cars for 38 units, not counting visitors, delivery vehicles, or caregivers. The consequences, this impacts the community. If this project moves forward as planned, it will not be the developer who suffers from the shortfall. It will be us, the neighbors, the surrounding streets, and our local business. Overflow parking will clog our roads, crowd out our own residents, and increase tensions. Emergency vehicles will face tighter access, and the walkability and safety of our streets will decline as cars spill into every available curb and shoulder. Equity and fairness, this is especially unfair to current residents who have followed the rules, built responsibly, and provided adequate parking on their own properties. Why should our community absorb the burden of a project that is underparked from day one? Alternative, this is not anti-housing, but this is pro-responsibility. Let me be clear, we are not against housing. We understand the need for affordability and density. But density without adequate infrastructure is not smart growth. It is reckless growth. If the developer wants to bring 38 units, then they must also bring realistic parking. At least 2 spaces per unit, plus visitor and ADA compliance. That is the only way to ensure the project doesn't harm the very neighborhood it hopes to join. I urge this board, do not approve this project as designed. Demand a plan that acknowledges the real needs of real households.
Thank you.
Demand the adequate parking.
Miss, thank you. Your 3 minutes are up.
Pardon me?
You have 3 minutes, and your 3 minutes are, that's what the bell was. So I have actually some lights on, and I have some commissioners that have questions.
Okay.
Vice Mayor, Commissioner Weiss, your light is still on. No?
I don't have questions.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
I have questions.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I do have a question for you, but first I have one for staff. Just to reiterate, how many spaces are approved for this?
50.
50, and there's 38 units?
Yes.
And our code doesn't require 2 parking spaces per unit, right? No.
No, the Westgate overlay has existed probably as long as the Westgate CRA, and it's an area where they intend for urban design, urban intensities and densities. So the Westgate CRA has reduced parking requirements, and it's not 2 for a studio apartment.
And you had said that do you live next to this property, or you just own properties next to it?
Well, I'm currently flipping it. It belongs to my family. We own about 4 different properties in the area, and that's one of them that will be affected, especially with this project. And my concern is the realism versus the actual code. Obviously, I know the code allows 1 parking per unit because it's a studio apartment. However, it's unrealistic to say 1 will house 1 person. In this economy, it's probably going to be a couple, most likely than not. It's a dual income economy. We're going to have more than 1 driver per household. So you're going to have more than 1 vehicle per unit at least, if more, especially if it's a low income type of project.
A lot of these units are studio, are they not, without even a bedroom?
They're extremely small studios. This is
Like
250
something
square foot.
feet.
Micro units, yes.
They are micro units. So I follow your logic that a 1-bedroom apartment could house 2 people. But, and again, we are trying to get, and I like micro units. So I do appreciate that. But one last question, buffers. What are the buffers surrounding this development?
I have to look. I believe they're 8 foot, but let me look at refresh.
My question is the surrounding area. How difficult or easy would it be for residents to try to infill parking with the surrounding area?
Well, with any property our business, people can choose not to park in the parking lot if they want to
get that,
visit a
but is
friend
it-
and such, but there is typically 8-foot buffers around the property. And this corridor, it is, upwards of 50 units an acre, but that's the intent for this corridor. That's the design, that's the mission, that's the intent, and that's why it has reduced parking regs. There was a variance proposed. Staff opposed the variance, and it was denied by the Zoning Commission. So this, as intended, will meet our parking regs.
Thank you.
This has reduced buffers, 5-foot buffers.
Is the applicant here?
Yes. Bradley?
Hi.
You can sit down, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi.
I can address, or if you want to ask questions.
No, you've heard them.
Okay.
Please.
So these are, it's 38 units. 26 of those units are the micro units. And it gives me an opportunity to put a letter of commitment from my client and the property owner that it ties to a request from Commissioner Sachs about assisting with daycare. But also in this letter, it talks about limiting the occupancy of those micro units to one person. So there would be 12 units that might have the option of having more than one person in those units. The parking has been something, these are 25 copies, so.
Could they submit for the record? Okay.
Please.
And while I'm submitting, there is also a letter from Delray Housing Group that I'd also in support. So knock yourself out with all 25 there. So the parking scenario has been part of this review process for the last six or 8 months.
Where's she going?
And so we're aware of that, and actually staff's been great in working through it. This is a unique project. It's there's a lot of new here. Density, micro units, the parking situation, but this is one of the more exciting projects I've worked on in the last 10, 15 years.
Why did you ask for the reduced buffer from 8 foot to 5 foot?
It's actually a part of the code to be able to reduce that down, and it allows us, it's a small parcel, it's 2/3 of an acre. So to get all that on there, without that buffer, actually, we wouldn't be able to get that number of parking spaces, and we wouldn't be able to get the number of units.
Thank you.
There's also little over 1,500 square feet of commercial space here, too. But it's all accommodated in the parking. One last thing on the parking, we did submit a study to staff that was based on the Institute of Traffic Engineers, that a project like this across the country is anticipated to have a need of 41 cars. So we're 12 cars over that.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores.
Yeah, this project is interesting, in my opinion. I struggle with some of how small these units are. I also struggle with the parking situation here. And there's also commercial involved in this project, is that correct?
Correct.
And what's the square footage in that?
1,585 square feet.
And what kind of traffic are we expecting to generate on those retail spaces?
On I don't have a breakdown of the actual commercial traffic of that. Maybe staff
Well,
has
the
it.
reason I'm asking this is if there's going to be 36 units, right?
Yes, 38 actually.
38 units. Yeah. And there's only how many spots, parking spots?
There are 53.
53. So that only leaves very little wiggle room for parking. So I struggle with that, with the parking situation. I also struggle with how small these apartments are, and I try to think about quality of life, but I also know that there are some people that do like smaller units, and if you're going to limit it to one person per, I'm okay with seeing this move forward. But I do want to say this on the record is I'm going to keep an eye on this project to see how it works out, to see if it's a model that we want to continue.
Sure. I think we all will.
Yeah, I think that's something that's prudent of us to do. And it seems like you meet most of the criteria. So I'm going to go along with it. You know, we have to be creative in the way that we bring affordable housing online, and maybe this is great for startups, you know, college students and so on. But the commercial space on that property does really confuse me. I don't know why we're trying to fit retail in such a small parcel, but I'll leave it at that.
In response to that, that's actually part of the Westgate incentives to have some commercial space along the frontage and be a mixed-use project. I just wanted to point out the slide on the screen. This is where micro units are starting to come about, and it's all over the country. I actually, when we went to the Westgate board, I told a story of about 35 years ago, maybe more than 40, maybe I'm stretching it to my benefit, that I gave a presentation to an elected board on some product called zero lot line homes. Never been heard of before. And now probably, I don't know what the number is, but there's a big percentage of the housing product in our county here are zero lot line homes. I think it's just it's a new trend. It's not so new, as you can see by this slide, and it's providing the type of housing that you as a board, your predecessors as a board have been wanting to see for quite some time.
Thank you. Commissioner Sacks, your light is on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to commend you, sir, and your client working with me and others, I'm sure, on this idea of micro-housing and mixed use. And also the letter that was just passed out, and I'm sure that we all have had a copy of it. This provides vouchers, and this is on the record, and it's part of the application. And I very much appreciate not just telling us, but putting it as a condition that there's going to be a $250 per month daycare voucher to all residents with children 5 years or younger. And this will be available to them who are coming with infants. And this goes back to what the young lady was talking about with regard to working people, working couples. Both couples work many times, or single moms, and who's going to take care of the child 5 years or younger. And this is where there's a lot of issues. In close proximity to your community are very many child care places for infants. And so this will help young families or single moms or single dads to be able to provide a safe place for their infant while they're working. And I appreciate your commitment to this. I've studied these micro units. I think that it is a wave, I don't want to say the wave of the future, but it's certainly being used in a lot of cities as people like Commissioner Flores talked about, startup families or small families. And so I heartily agree, and I do want to commend you for working with us on this issue.
Thank you for
Thank
that.
you, sir.
So I believe I had a motion from Commissioner Weiss. Go right ahead.
So first off, before I give you, I'd like to make that motion on this would be for 6A and B, but I want to speak to the public and I want to speak to the applicant. This is a phenomenal project. This is the kind of innovation that we have needed in this community. I had the opportunity to live in a very small space for 4 years. It was not a cell, as people might have thought I was alluding to. But I lived in 300 square feet, and it was quite adequate. That was, of course, on a sailboat, but spent 4 years. And so small spaces you can do a lot in. And I think for professionals, this is near downtown. It's going to allow, folks to be able to save money, potentially use that as a down payment to get into ownership and property, and we know how important that is. And a lot of folks have jobs now where they're on the road, and to be able to just walk out the door and not have to have a lot of stuff to deal with, You guys are doing that. And then if you look at the renderings, and I honestly, I hope that this is exactly what it's going to look like, but that is a beautiful, beautiful project, and that will, I mean, if you look at Westgate Avenue and the redevelopment and all the work going on to improve that, something that the Westgate CRA has been working on for many, many years, and you all brought it to fruition. I mean, it's an amazing looking street, and having these kinds of projects just upgrades that entire area. I understand that there's concern regarding the parking, but I think we understand that most of these units, as you said, and I also want to acknowledge my colleague too. I really appreciate Commissioner Sachs that the work that you did in getting those commitments from the applicant. That was innovative on your part, so good for you. And I think it's going to make it a better project, and I think that you all agreeing to that was certainly the right thing to do, and really sets the stage for future possible developments like that. So
Thank you, Commissioner. Dr. Jetta is here, his staff, Catherine O'Donnell, Josh Bishop, they're hearing this, Arsene Kalustian, and then the architect who had the creativity, Abi Canthan, is also here. So I'm sure they're beaming behind me.
Well, the way you all designed this building, and what you don't see is the rooftop amenity upstairs that also exists for those folks. And they all have their own balconies, because that's a requirement of the Westgate CRA. So, great project, and with that, I move this.
I'll second.
Oh, I got a motion and a second. We'll give it a tie for Commissioner Woodward and Vice Mayor Baxter. I just wanted to comment and say also for those interested in the issues about parking and cars, one of the things that we are trying to encourage is the use of additional transportation other than a car. And I believe you said there were 6 different Palm Trans stops within walking distance of this. So, I mean, the ideal thing when we're putting a building like this is in an urban environment is that folks have an additional option besides getting in their own personal car. So this is a great location to do that. Thank you. With that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, all opposed. See that motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor, Commissioners, appreciate it. Look forward to seeing it move ahead.
Thank you. All right, we're on item 7, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Item 7, ABN ZB PDD CA 2025. This is the Westgate Village MUPD. And we have several requests. We have a development order abandonment of an open-air flea market, an official zoning map amendment, and a Class A conditional use for density bonus. And if you'd like a presentation from the agent, they'd go first.
Anyone want a presentation? Commissioner Weiss, this is your district. You want to go ahead and... Oh, disclosures.
Sorry, I didn't whisper that one.
Disclosures. Gosh, there should just be a big sign here. Disclosures. Okay. Commissioner Flores, we are on item 7. Do you have any disclosures?
No disclosures.
Commissioner Sachs.
On item 7, where are my disclosures?
You want us to come back to you?
No. I got it. Okay. Pass me, and I will find them.
Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you.
Thank you. I had verbal communication with Ken Tuma, Joni Brinkman, Cody Crowell, and Lindsay Jean Lewis, sorry, and email correspondence filed with the clerk.
Thank you. For the mayor, I had verbal communication with Ken Tuma, Jody Brinkman, Cody Crowell, and I filed all my correspondence with the clerk. Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I've written communication that have been filed with the clerk. I've had verbal communication with Ingrid Saez, Nick Kelly, David Martin, Harvey Oyer, Denise Pennell, Bailey Raposa, Cody Crowell, Eliza Michael, Hunter Holtz, Bridget Goodman, Ken Tuma, Lindsay Jean Lewis, Joni Brinkman. We can just put everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. On item number 7, I had verbal communication with Rob Frisbee, Cody Crowell, Ken Tuma, Joni Brinkman, Alex Holliday, Jack Leone, Nick Kelly, Hunter Holtz, and Matt Forrest, and have email correspondence filed with the clerk.
Thank you. And Commissioner Sachs, find anything?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. On item number 7, District 5 has in-person meeting with Denise Pennell, Ken Tuma, Robert Frisbee, Cody Crowell, Elise Michelle, and we have received and filed any email correspondence. Thank you for waiting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, back to Commissioner Weiss. Would you like a presentation or?
I do not need a presentation on this, and I'd like to go ahead and make a motion. This is on the item
7A, B,
number
C.
number 7, and this is the Westgate Village MUPD, and this would be recommend approval on 7A, B, and C.
I have a motion from Commissioner Weiss, a second from Commissioner Woodward. All in favor, all opposed, see that that motion carries 6-0. Okay. Are we on item 8 now?
Okay. The next item, item 8, Z 2025-00316, the natural areas rezoning. This is a county-initiated rezoning of over 13,000 acres from multiple zoning classifications to our preservation conservation zoning district. This will require 2 hearings. We do have an additional motion on the add delete. Would you like a presentation from staff? All of these properties are county-owned. All the properties have conservation, future land use, so they will be bringing them into consistency with that future land use designation.
We don't need disclosures on this, do we?
No.
It does say disclosures here, so I'm just kind of wondering why.
Sorry, yes, it's unique. It is a zoning item, and the only.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody have disclosures?
No.
None. Okay, no disclosures. Thank you very much. Would someone like to make the motion, please?
I'll move it to provide a mate.
Okay.
Second.
We
Whichever.
we have a motion from the Vice Mayor, a second from Commissioner Woodward. All in favor, all opposed, see that motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. I know what you all have done with our natural areas and trying to make sure that they stay natural in perpetuity. And I realize that most of this land is in District 1, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Are we on 9 now?
Yes, 9 and 10 actually are companion applications for the Boca Raton Commerce Center. 9 is a small-scale future land use amendment, 2024-8, to modify the future land use from CLO industrial to CLO with HR 12 and conditions of approval. And then the companion application is a development order amendment to the previously approved MUPD and a Class A conditional use for combined density increase. We can turn it over to the applicant after.
No, we're gonna take disclosures right
on
now.
On number 10.
We're going to take disclosures
yeah.
on number 10. So Commissioner Flores, any disclosures on number 10? Thank you. Commissioner Sachs.
Yes, on 9 and 10, a verbal with Josh Nichols, in-person meetings with Josh Nichols, Cameron Ennis, Charles Oshelnik, Haviv Cohen, a site visit to the location, and we have received and filed the emails with the clerk.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. I had verbal communication with Josh Nichols and email correspondence filed with the clerk.
Thank you. I had no disclosures. Vice Mayor?
On item number 10, yes, I have emails that have been filed with the clerk and verbal communications with Andrea Virgin and Josh Nichols, and no site visit.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. I had written communication via text message with Josh Nichols, and that's been filed with the clerk.
All righty. Thank you. Commissioner Sachs, your light is on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to request a postponement of this application at this time, pending some issues that we're going to be reviewing. I've discussed this with the applicant and the client. I was out there. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful development. I've also discussed this with staff, And I would like to just have a little bit additional time for us to work on a couple of little issues that are rather important at this time. And so with that, I would request a board approval for that.
Okay, we actually have, thank you, we have a motion and a second. We do have 2 cards. Is it, since we're going to postpone this, are we still taking cards?
First of all, I think we should clarify what date we're going to postpone it to, unless it would be re-advertised if there's no specific date.
No, I
chosen.
think a date certain would be very helpful for all of us and would not prejudice the issues to further this development.
Josh, are you in favor of a postponement?
We are in favor.
Okay.
30-day, please.
30 day?
October 23rd, 2025.
Is that okay with you, the applicant?
That is, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you for bringing that up.
And then, yes,
Attorney?
if anybody would like to speak to the postponement itself,
So where we would be speaking on the postponement itself, not the issue at
not the
hand.
merits of the
Okay.
item.
So we do have 2 cards.
It's actually the same person on item 9 and 10, Svetlana Sela.
This would be just on the postponement, not on the issue itself. Come to the microphone, please.
Dear County Commissioner, my name is Svetlana Sena. I'm resident of Meisner Point at 8411 Via Leonessa, Boca Raton, Palm Beach County. I would like to know the reason of postponement. What is the reason?
As the commissioner said, there were some other items that needed to be worked out.
May I know what items?
Commissioner Sachs?
If I may?
Sure.
Mayor? Are you a neighbor of where this development is going to be at?
I'm resident of
Okay,
that
very
neighborhood.
good. I'll come out and speak to you. Some of the issues that we're going to clarify concern some issues in your development that's right next to it, and I'll come out and talk to you about it.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
So
Well,
if you
then
could-
I will.
I'm going to
keep
get your
my-
name from the card.
Oh, yeah.
Or my office will reach out to you.
Okay, and so will I need to fill out new cards on meeting October 23rd?
If you want to speak at that time, you'll have to come back in October.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so, Attorney Stone.
Yeah, I think just for clarification, if we could split up the 2 items, the motion for 9 and motion for 10.
Okay.
I move to,
Okay,
Postpone.
Commissioner Sachs, why don't you go ahead and make the motions?
well, thank you, Mayor. Let me see if I say it right. I move to postpone
Item number 9.
D9A at this time with a
To
time
October-
date certain
October 23rd.
till October 23rd.
So I have a motion from Commissioner Sachs, a second from Commissioner Flores. All in favor, all opposed, see that motion carries 6-0. Would you like to make the motion for number 10
Yes, thank you,
also?
Madam Mayor. I'd like to request a postponement of D10 from this date, now D10A and B, right? D10A and B, and to a date certain, which is October
23rd, 2025.
Thank you very much.
And I have a motion from Commissioner Sachs, a second from Commissioner Flores. All in favor, all opposed, see that that motion carries 6-0.
Okay, very good.
Okay, Wendy,
you.
where are we now? 11?
We are on number 11. Under ULDC-related items, this is our townhouse regulations. This is a privately proposed amendment. We are in Phase 2. This was before the board last month for a request for permission to advertise. This item is for final adoption, first reading and final adoption. Would you like a summary from the applicant?
Madam Mayor, unless anyone would like a presentation, I'll make the motion to approve item number 11.
We do have cards, so we have a motion and a second, a motion from the Vice Mayor, second from Commissioner Weiss, but before we take a vote, we have cards.
Sorry, we have 4 cards. John Eubanks, Walter Ross, Rob Palahunik, and Michael Crota.
And just a reminder that comments are to stick to this particular agenda item.
I'm sorry?
Comments are to stick to this particular agenda item.
Sure. No, not a problem. Okay, for the record, John Eubanks, 605 North Olive Avenue, Sniffen and Spellman, representing the gentleman that you just named on the cards. In looking at this application, part of what we were worried about is there's 4 or 5 red flags to us at least. First, it's introduced by developers. That's a little strange. People like West Palm and Palm Beach, you can't do that. You don't let the developers dictate what's on your agenda, you do that. So everybody's a little bit skeptical in looking at this thing because what we're worried about is we're always worried about that we're going to overbuild the property that we have. Look, one thing we have left in Florida is property. Well, we want to use it, but we still want to use and remain with some natural spaces and some open spaces. So that's one of the things that you look at when you look at this, and even when you dig deeper, you look in, and it's basically driven by one project and one development. So you need to look at all of this because this is for the ULDC, and it will cover everything, including the one that we'll come back with for my clients in October. But the other next aspect is when you look at it, it says, well, we're really here for reducing setbacks, but because we have some issues that we want to use the property more, I forgot what, economically or whatever it was, fully. So that again, it's talking about what we're looking at as setbacks, rear setbacks, side setbacks. That is an issue that allows more density, which we're trying to get away from, I think, and other than in special exceptions like the ones you were just looking at. So the setbacks themselves mean you're going to end up with some neighborhoods right next to other neighborhoods, which won't be compatible. The next thing is reintroduction of the parking tracks. We thought these were gone. The reason they died is that nobody liked them. They're huge. They're basically large, places of big parking lots of asphalt. And there's been some studies out there that it's really bad for the environment for us to take up all of your green space, your landscape, and your native vegetation and turn it into a parking lot. The other aspects are you've got what they call an urban heat island effect. You get increased temperatures in the surrounding area, and you also have increased runoff, bad drainage issues, etc. The other thing is, look, you're asking for smaller drainage easements and you're asking for smaller drains. That's a recipe for disaster. One hurricane, everything floods, and everybody's going to be looking to see who in the world approved this. The last thing, and I don't have much time period, is we were told that this was all driven by a need for townhouses, but when you actually look at the documents and the statements you get now, right now, townhomes prices have gone down 9.5%. Townhome inventory is up 10.7%, and the months of supply have gone from 7.1 months to 9.0 months, which means that you're really on a not only a downtrend, but you're actually probably falling off the cliff on the need for townhouses. So if we're doing this for that, that's the wrong purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hello.
Good morning, Mayor and Board
Madam
of
Mayor,
County
before-
Commissioners.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on one second. I do have
Oh.
2 lights on. Commissioner Weiss and then Vice Mayor Baxter.
Thank you, Mayor. This is for staff. So there were some statements just made, and I'd just like to get you to clarify this for us. Who initiated these changes?
We have been anticipating working on urban development regs and ULDC changes. As you know, this board has directed for many years. We do have a list. If this was not proposed by the applicant, we would have brought it forward at some point. What the proposal by the applicant did is allow this to move along quicker, because then we have an applicant. But the applicant just proposed the reduction in rear setback from 25 feet to 15 feet. All of the rest of the changes were staff proposed.
Yes, and then on specifically on the area of parking, and that can you address that as well?
Yeah, parking tracks. So in the 80s and 90s, the townhome regs were much more liberal than what they are today. And sometime in the 90s, changes were made to be much more restrictive. And that's what we're proposing to peel back a little bit. We have thousands and thousands of townhomes that are non-conforming because of those changes, such as the elimination of the parking tract. And by eliminating the parking tract, we kind of forced townhomes to have garages because of the 25-foot front setback and having no parking tract. Not every person looking to purchase a fee simple townhome wants or needs a garage. I mean, the Devasta quads, I don't, all the mushroom looking, everybody almost
Those
has
in
them.
my
as-
district.
Everybody has them almost as their first house. Those are actually all non-conforming and unincorporated. None of them have garages. It works. So, adding the parking tract back will alleviate nonconformities, and it will also allow a design for townhomes that don't have garages.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor Baxter.
So Commissioner Weiss took most of my questions. No worries. But I will say that I was curious, how come we kept getting a lot of different style homes? I've lived in a couple different townhomes as an adult, and I thought they're a great place for families who can't quite afford a large house, but don't necessarily want to live in an apartment. And I wanted to know why we weren't seeing more townhome applications, and I'm hoping that some of these changes are going to help us to start seeing more of them, because I do feel they're a great in-between. We keep seeing a lot of the condo units being proposed, but not too many townhomes as a more affordable solution. So I do understand parking hesitations, right? It's a big deal. You need parking with these. So if they're not having a garage or requirement, I do want to make sure that these townhomes do have enough spaces, not like with the micro units. They need to have at least the 2 spaces per unit going forward. Thank you.
My first unit when I came here was the Devasta quad with no garage. My second unit was a town home in the Windermere Community in PJ National with a 1-car garage that, because we had so much stuff, I'm cleaning up that word, there was no car ever parked in the garage, but we had a long enough driveway that we could stack cars. I do appreciate that. Question about the drainage. There was something that came up about drainage, so can you address that, please?
Absolutely. Good morning, Scott Cantor, Director of Land Development. The modification to the drainage easement width will instead of just saying a minimum 12-foot wide drainage easement, for non-roadway drainage easements, it'll be determined by the diameter of the pipe and the depth, which is how we do it anyways when it exceeds, because it's a minimum 12 feet for road. So we're just applying that same formula that we use, but this would be more for like draining a rear buffer through a property or rear yard drainage. It has no impact on the size of the pipe, the size of the catch basin. All of that is determined by the drainage area. Those calculations will not change by this. It's just the amount of easement that is encumbering the resident's property.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I think we're ready. Sir.
Okay. Good morning, Mayor and the Board of County Commissioners. Walter Ross, I'm just here to comment on the Unified Land Development Code to modify and reduce setbacks. Insufficient buffers and protections, affect, let's just say an AR community, with single-family houses, farmland, to be directly exposed to the impacts of, more dense townhouse housing, our community's a prime conflict. It's where agriculture, rural, residential living coexists, and to allow incompatible urban overdevelopment would irreparably damage not just our land, but the trust of the residents who've invested decades of stewardship here. So thank you for your consideration of this matter and standing with the citizens that represent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir.
Good afternoon, or actually good morning. Robert Palonik, 5536 52nd Drive South. So this came up when we were at another meeting with y'all, that the ULDC is being changed to affect developers. It doesn't benefit the residents. It gives the developers an opportunity to do whatever they want. As Westgate just said, reduce the setbacks from 8 to 5. Other developers will follow standard. They'll go from 25 to 15 against equestrian properties when it's 20 right now. So I don't see how this is a benefit to the residents of Palm Beach County. I don't hear residents clamoring, we want to go closer to our neighbors. They want a little bit more distance between them. You have a set of codes and standards that should be followed, and that's what they should follow. No one's saying they can't build it. They're just saying you can't build 38, maybe it's 36. Okay, so it's 36 with the setbacks that you set forth. If you don't like the code, which is what they're doing, then we're going to change it to suit our fancy, which is just developers. And what's even worse is this PPR, this is Madame A Homes. I wonder why Madame A didn't come up here and put their name on this, as they had council do it, so it didn't draw attention to them, right? 1,200 pages is what we got that we had to go through and locate to see who they were. I mean, it's a nice trick, but no one's against the building. It's just use your codes and standards that you have to keep the setbacks. This will come back in front of you again. And another developer is going to reduce the setbacks on equestrian property. And they're asking for certain things, and they'll be granted. I'm not disillusioned that they're not going to get what they want. But reality is, you have standards and codes, follow them. They don't need 38, 36, or whatever it is, and parking spots. I deal with this daily, so I'm well versed in this. Just follow the codes and standards that we're allowed, and don't let the developers run the show. It seems like that's the case right now. I'm sorry to say, but it's where I stand, that's what I see. So with that, I think they're weakening the standards of Palm Beach County by allowing this to happen. And I think a step back should, or at least let them follow what they submitted. If you submitted and you have to give 20 feet, then submit 20 feet. Don't let them come back and change it, because they're going to change the code 200 days down the road. And that's going to come before you again. So with that, thank you for your time, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa, I did watch the previous meeting on this. You had a great slide that showed setbacks.
Yes,
Can
I
you
was
pull
just
that up?
asking. I was just asking for the clicker and to put up the staff townhome presentation. Yeah, I'll show you the setbacks on the staff one. If you could go to the staff presentation. The setbacks for townhomes are more restrictive than any other housing type. There's single family, there's zero lot line. Here we go. And I'm gonna have to get my glasses to read them. But what you see in the bottom left is the rear setback for a single family home is 15 feet. In the center is zero lot line homes is 10 feet. On the far right is multifamily, and the rear setback is 15 feet. And then the townhome in the upper right is currently the 25 feet on the front and on the side. And what this does, this difference between the multifamily and the townhome results in developers, instead of building fee simple, they build them as multifamily for either rentals or for condos. And many, I don't have any data to say most, but a lot of townhome property owners are seeking fee simple. So, the question became, why should a fee simple townhome have a 25-foot rear setback when single family has 15, multifamily has 15, zero lot line has 10? And if the question is, well, townhomes could be 2 stories, well, so could zero lot line, single family, and multifamily could be higher than that as well. So those are the setbacks.
Well, anything we can do to encourage fee simple ownership, because I know the board talks a lot about the rental units that we're, putting on the books, but we haven't seen a lot of developments come to us that are townhomes, fee simple. So anything we can do to make it more affordable for someone to buy a home and build that, that American dream and build equity, I'm in favor of. But we still have a couple of cards left. Sir?
Good morning. Michael Gordon, 5360 Oldsmobile Drive. My friends and council have pretty much explained all of our thoughts, but my biggest concern is a pre-existing buffer and compatibility. Whereas developers and obviously we're talking about wanting affordable housing now, not just more development, but you're making a good point. But affordable housing in my situation and going to a 10-foot setback is going to certainly hamper my lifestyle and my business. So I would like you all to make provisions in this, in the approval process, that when there is a pre-existing property that they want to keep, in my situation, agricultural, I would like to keep my 20-foot buffer the way it is and not have encroachment by developers and a county that wants to then build lower income housing, as you just stated, affordable housing is, I guess, your word, closer to my property. I'm not in favor of that whatsoever, so I think y'all should just postpone your vote and do a little thinking about how it does affect pre-existing properties that are not compatible with what you're trying to accomplish here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor.
Sir, before you sit, mind if I ask some questions? Do you live next to a development you believe is coming that is going to impact your property?
Yes.
And let's say we left everything the way it is now, okay, and we didn't make any changes. What then would prevent the developer, if you're saying we don't change our ULDC, to come in and build multi-family condo units or zero lot lines or any of the above? Why? And again, it's not going to 10, it would be going to 15, correct, Lisa?
15 from the interior of the buffer. So for example, if the buffer is 20 feet wide, there would be an additional 15 feet setback before you got to the structure. So it's not 15 feet from the property line.
So, sir, I hear you. I absolutely don't want to intrude on your, property and your ability to live the way you want to live, but it doesn't make, I'm trying to understand your thought process here. It doesn't make a lot of sense if we hold townhomes to this stricter 25-foot buffer, when the builder could say, all right, we'll scratch the townhomes and we'll come back and do multi-family or zero lot line, and then you're impacted even worse. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay. All I want is the buffer that I'm owed, okay, and the maximum from whatever you're talking about. When I read this, it says a 10-foot setback. So someone here is saying 15, but what I'm reading here is a 10-foot setback is what's being proposed.
That's currently what's allowed on zero lot line. We're not changing zero lot line buffers. We're changing townhome buffers from 25 foot to 15. I think maybe that was in some background, Wendy?
The setbacks, as proposed, the rear setback is 15. A side street setback proposed is 15. The side setback is 0, obviously, when it's a shared wall, when it's the connecting townhouses.
Right.
And 7.5 on the end units. The front setback would be 10 feet.
Is that
to the
from a
unit,
road?
From the parking tract or the street. That's the front.
Gotcha. But the surrounding of the development, to answer your question, sir, is 15. If there are homes around the development, it would be 15.
Okay.
And again, if we didn't change this, they could come back with any other thing that does have less buffers. So this is just bringing townhomes into compliance with the rest of the zero lot line, what actually are more strict than the zero lot line.
All right. Thank you for the explanation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I see no more cards. I see no lights. Oh, I got a whisper from Commissioner Woodward, who made a motion to approve. I have a second from the Vice Mayor. All in favor? All opposed? See that motion carries 6-0. We took up item number 12. 13?
We did do number 12, so we are on number 13.
And this item is just for information. There's no motion or anything of that nature, correct?
Well, we did add on add delete a proposal for green markets to discuss. Can we turn that on to staff slides and let's see what this looks like from my laptop? Oh, okay. So this is a follow-up to several items that have come up before the board over the past year: green markets, variances and waivers, government services. So I never say my name, but my name is Lisa Amera, for the record, zoning director. So how I'm going to start off this presentation is talk about zoning approval processes, because it provides the context for these 3 items. So Zoning approvals, we do in the zoning division about 2,000 applications per year. A very small percentage come to this board every month. So there's two different types of administrative approvals, and there's two different types of public hearing approvals. Some approvals are done by the zoning director, and this slide, and you have a handout in your packet that explains the items that are reviewed and approved by the zoning director. This is all right out. 99% of this presentation is copy and paste out of the Unified Land Development Code, and I just made the sentences shorter. So the zoning director is the head of the zoning division, appointed by the executive director of PZB. We manage, and in partnership with the deputy director, zoning, Wendy Hernandez, we process, as I mentioned, 2,000 applications a year. We apply the land development regulations and property development regulations. The zoning director has the final authority to make decisions on certain items that are shown on the screen. One of those big items of controversy is ensuring that there's adequate public facilities and concurrency on projects. Now, there used to be something called the Development Review Committee. That was a group of departments that would review all of the zoning applications for development review. In the early 2000s, that was changed from a committee to a person, and that is called a Development Review Officer. So that Development Review Officer is appointed by the PZB director, and it could be different people, but it essentially for the past 4 years has been me as the zoning director, because the staff of the DRO is the zoning division. And the DRO, and this is the zoning director or me acting as the DRO, has the authority to make recommendations on public hearing applications. Every application before you will have a recommendation. And I have the final decision on site plan approval, use approval subject to DRO, TDRs, less than 2 units an acre, temporary uses, and type 1 variances and type 1 waivers. Again, this is all right out of the ULDC. So as the Development Review Officer, I may seek comments and recommendations from various review agencies. There's 17 review agencies in the county. Some are non-concurrency reviews, such as airports, HED, school district, the Planning Division, PREM, Environmental Resources Management, and County Attorney. And there are some concurrency providers, adequate public facilities providers, which are engineering, fire rescue, drainage districts, parks and recreation, palm tree, and health and water utilities, and any water utility outside the county's water utility service area. So what we do in the zoning division is we apply land development regulations, and Chapter 163 from the Florida statutes establishes what those land development regulations are, and it's on that slide. We also have property development regulations, and they're kind of described on this slide. And property development regulations include setbacks, parking, buffer, access, and all of those things. A lot of detail that's in that big book behind Wendy and Darren. So this is a recap of what the zoning director can approve. And then there's items that are approved by the Board of County Commissioners and the Zoning Commission, and that's on this slide. You approve all rezonings, plan developments, Class A uses, public ownership deviations, and Type 2 waivers. The Zoning Commission approves Class B uses and Type 2 variances, and they make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. So with that understanding, green markets and special permits is where I'd like to go next. We had direction from the board last month to come back with green markets.
I wonder, you're a great speaker. I wonder if we could just take this piecemeal by piecemeal, because each one of these variances, green markets, and government services have a lot of different issues. So I wonder if we could, with your permission, Madam Mayor, stay with the variances and waivers, and then we can move on to green markets and special permits. If I
Let me
have
ask
any
you,
questions.
how much longer is the presentation?
Well, it's much shorter now on each one of those ones. There's not a lot in each of the next segments, but we could have, I had put green markets as the first item because that had some add delete.
Okay. Let's go for it. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So a green market use is defined in the code as the gathering of vendors for selling fruit, vegetables, flowers, consumable items. And they're often called a farmer's market. So a green market use operates within a separate approval. It could be in a downtown, it could be in a parking lot, it could be in anywhere, but that has a prior approval. And in 2008, the code was split for green markets. If it was up to 6 months, it was a special permit. If it was more than 6 months, it was a development review officer site plan approval. The only difference is the amount of time per year. If it's over 6 months, we require a site plan modifications and parking spaces of 1 space per 250 square feet. If it's less than 6 months, we don't require that. So this slide shows the difference between the temporary use approval process. It's the DRO to approve as a temporary use, or the permanent ones, which are more than 6 months, are DRO approval with site plan. The difference between the temporary use is it's an $800 project, and it's very simple, straightforward. We approve within 30 days. The DRO with site plan is much more complicated, longer, and costly. So I had a slide on special permits, but essentially a special permit is the same as a temporary use approval. So our findings and recommendations on green markets is that we go back to where we were in 2008 and do a temporary use approval for 12 months per year for a green market, eliminating the requirement for site planning, because this type of use is specifically contingent upon the green market operator and the owner of the property. And it is ideal and a more appropriate processing and approval if annually we renew with the special the special permit, or the temporary use is essentially the same, because we don't have any permanent green markets. It's never actually happened. We wouldn't want to be in a circumstance where one of those two parties changed and we would get in the middle of something that we don't really need to. It's a temporary use that happens in a parking lot, so we're proposing permission to advertise in what we provide in the backup. We have not been able to work with Scott Stone on the details of how this will work out, but we would have the official language coming back next month. So that's the conclusion of green markets that we have for you.
So basically what you're trying to do is make it more efficient for someone to actually go through the process.
Correct.
Because everyone is always telling us we're not efficient enough.
Yes.
Okay, I'm on board. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Lisa, for this. It's important for an existing green market that's in limbo right now, that has had to go through a tremendous process and tens of thousands of dollars to try to get this done right now, which is just unnecessary, but also to open it up for future areas around our unincorporated. And it's basically allowing a landlord who owns, a large area parking lot to enter into an agreement, and, we would just, double check with it every year, but it's really between those two operators, and we're just, doing a very limited permit. So I very much support this. I'd like to move this forward for first reading next month.
Okay, Commissioner Sachs, your light is on, and then Attorney Stone.
Okay. I'll concede to the attorney.
Well, thank you. Just when we get to the point of making the motion, the add delete didn't have the correct language, so I just wanted to kind of help guide you to the right language.
Okay. Commissioner Sachs, anything to add?
Yeah, thanks. I always like to talk after the attorney. The couple of things. First, you're amazing. Thank you. Stay, always. Need you. I have a couple of, and I think some of this was board direction. It was brought up by some of the other commissioners. First of all, on the variances and waivers, let's go back to the very first one.
I've got more on the variances waiver
That's
once
the next
we tackle.
part of the presentation.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Okay. Only one at a time. Go ahead, Lisa.
I got a lot more on variances and waivers after we have this motion, if we could.
Well, the motion, when we do a motion, are we, will I have an opportunity to talk about variances and waivers
Absolutely,
before
yes.
we do the motion? So the motion right now
Separate
is
motion.
only on green markets and special permits.
Right.
And I have a question on that.
Okay.
If a green market wants to open up in a city, which is really superior, the city ordinances or county? Can county come in and have, supersedious jurisdiction over a city permit?
Yeah, with limited exceptions, the ULDC only applies to unincorporated, so the city's regulations would apply within the city.
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
And if we'd like a motion on this item, then we'll go into variances.
So what would be the correct wording on the motion, please?
Okay. So The first motion would be that the board, by a majority plus one vote, elects to conduct both required advertised hearings under Florida statutes section 125.66 at 9:30 a.m. instead of holding one of the required hearings after 5 p.m. You can just read them all together and then you can do them at once. Second motion would be to approve permission to advertise for first reading of the ordinance at the Bcc Zoning Hearing on October 23rd, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. And then the third motion would be that the BCC receive and file the business impact estimate for this item.
So we're just working on
His motion.
the first part of that motion, which would be item A, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So that is my motion.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? And we have a second. With 5 of us on the dais, is that enough to carry?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? See, that motion carries 5-0. We are now on to variances and waivers.
So variances and waivers. Now everyone knows, I think, that I don't like variances, and I will show you why. So Article 1 of the ULDC shows you the difference between, this is all cut and paste out of the ULDC. The difference between a variance and a waiver is that a variance is for a peculiar circumstances of the property and is not the result of the actions of the applicant, whereas a waiver is a technique to allow the altering of ULDC provisions for various missions that the board is seeking. And there's the exact wording out of the code. So these are the standards of approval. Again, copied out of the code, but I abbreviated a little to fit on the slide. So both variances and waivers have to be the minimum allowable reasonable use of the property. They have to be otherwise consistent with the comp plan and ULDC. They can't be injurious or detrimental to public welfare. Waivers only have 3 standards. They are not detrimental to the design and the harmony of the site layout. They don't conflict with other parts of the code, and they don't impact adjacent properties. That's the similar circumstances between variances and waivers. But variances go on to say there must be peculiar circumstances, they're not self-created, it doesn't grant special privilege, and if we didn't approve the waiver, the property owner would be in undue hardship. So that's the difference between a variance and a waiver. Now, the approval authority, Board of County Commissioners approves Type 2 waivers, the Zoning Commission approves Type 2 variances, and the Zoning Director, acting as the Development Review Officer, approves Type 1 waivers and Type 1 variances. So this is a copy-paste out of the code. What a Type 1 waiver is something, there's a very, very narrow scope of items that I could approve by Type 1 waiver. The most popular is a 15% reduction in parking. I typically approve these all the time. A Type 1 variance is the Zoning Director as DRO, much more limited circumstance. For us to process these, we have to have a public meeting and we have to notify residents. However, it's a peculiar circumstance because the Zoning Division drafts the staff report and also reviews public comment, and that's what a Type 1 variance is. A Type 2 variance is what probably we have the most applications for. These are subdivision variances when a property owner can't meet Article 11, or their design, they don't want to spend the cost to meet Article 11, or they want some other deviations from the code, such as Neighborly wanted a Type 2 variance for parking. I typically recommend against Type 2 variances because more often than not, it's the applicant seeking a higher density or a different design. We did recommend approval of the variance on Westgate Village because the property was skewed and we really needed to support that variance. A Type 2 waiver is a decision by the Board of County Commissioners. There's very limited circumstances as well, but this is where the Board of County Commissioners gets to make the decision. This is the technique that staff has been discussing with you for reduction in parking, for density bonus, any type of urban regs that we want to pursue, the height, the design, having those run with the application before the board, because that is the appropriate tool in the toolkit for having flex regs as the Type 2 waiver. And this is an interesting slide of how do you appeal a decision for a type 1, how are they appealed? So on the type 1 waiver, if you don't like the decision that the zoning director makes, you appeal that to the zoning commission. If there is a type 1 variance, it's appealed to a hearing officer, or actually an administrative approval as well. If there is a Class B approval by the zoning commission and the applicant doesn't like it or somebody doesn't like it, they appeal that to the Board of County Commissioners. If it's a type 2 variance, it is appealed only to words I can't pronounce that Scott knows and Darren knows of that petition to the circuit court, or some other means as well there are in the toolbox for appealing the denial of a type 2 variance. And the type 2 waiver and the Class A and rezonings by the board are also challenged or appealed through that same mechanism. So what this ends up happening is if the zoning commission denies a variance, it can impede a project from going to the board. And we had this a couple years ago with the racetrack. And since that time, Wendy and I try, whenever possible, to reduce the amount of variance that are needed for a project. We either convince the applicant that we're not going to support it and don't even try, just follow the code, or we come up with strategies to make it work. Because if you have an application to get before you, and it goes to the zoning commission, and that application is contingent on a type 2 variance, and it is denied, it gets a whole lot of complicated for that item to move forward to this board. And those were decisions that prior boards made to have certain use approvals, those Class B approvals, and that type 2 variance approved by the zoning commission. And I believe that they may have done that to reduce the workload at the board to delegate that authority to the zoning commission. I don't know, because I wasn't planning at the time and I wasn't really watching what was going to that.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before us today, and we've had this discussion actually recently about things can go to the zoning commission and just die and never come to us, see us, and especially projects in our district that we may or may not like could never even come before us. So do you have any recommendations for helping solve that?
I have some concepts on this slide for you to discuss, but anything more restrictive, I don't think we can do because of Senate Bill 180. But
Hold on one sec. Is coming to the Board of County Commission either instead of or after the zoning commission a more restrictive regulation?
I think generally speaking, if you're adding an additional hearing, it would be because the SB 180 wasn't just about more restrictive or burdensome amendments, it's about more restrictive or burdensome procedures concerning review, approval, or issuance of a development order. So
How would, before you turn your mic off, what if we swapped it out one for one?
I haven't had an opportunity to explore that or research it at all.
Okay.
Yes, so what we're proposing with board direction, not to make any changes, but for that conversation to continue with PZB and the county attorney's office and come up with some sort of ideas. Wendy and I are extremely supportive of waivers because they have a different standard and they tie in with creative, bigger, stronger, faster, better projects. For the variances, I think it should be considered if we could do later a deep dive on variances and say, should some of those variances be waivers instead? And if it was appealable for a denial of the zoning commission rather than to go to court, if we had a zoning commission waiver instead of variance, and then if it fails at the zoning commission, having it appeal to the BCC. Now, this is very preliminary and just thinking outside the box for the future. But another idea that Wendy and I had discussed before Senate Bill 180, and is to, if a project is contingent on BCC approval, to let the board be the one to make that determination and grant that ultimately authority. Obviously, if it's a project that wouldn't come to you anyway, some subdivision variances and stuff, maybe that wouldn't go to the board. But it's just a peculiar situation when the zoning commission action can impede a project moving forward to you. And we're not proposing any changes, just kind of discussing for further conversation at this time.
Sure. So the waiver process would help with that instead of it just dying at zoning commission?
If we changed if you look at this slide, if we changed a variance to a waiver, and I have full faith in Bob Banks, that there was a strong reason of why he required those type 2 variance to go to the circuit court. But if it wasn't a type 2 waiver, if it wasn't a type 2 variance, instead, if it was a zoning commission waiver, that denial could be appealed to the BCC, just like the Class B approvals. That might be an option. We would have to dissect every single type of type 2 variance. It would take a lot of work and discussion. That's why before we did any work on that, we've had this kicking around since Commissioner Sachs was mayor, brought this up. Bring back this concept. We don't know the solutions, we just know the questions. So that's why I think that's an idea. I just don't like variances. Very, very few times can a property owner raising a piece of property to the ground will need a variance. Very rarely. But they might want something that's a little different and then establish the waiver process. So.
I do want to point out, and again, I unfortunately haven't had time to digest this, but based on what was said, one consideration to think is that if it was even possible to change it to a waiver and then make that appealable to the board, that would probably push back any concurrent zoning items an extra month because the appeal itself would take additional time.
But that's only if it's denied by the zoning commission.
Right.
So instead of it dying altogether, it gets to come to us, correct?
If it was denied and then appealed, it would get to you. But then the appeal itself would force, usually these have concurrent, they're tied to like development order amendments, Class A conditional uses. They're not by themselves, usually. Just thinking, as I'm talking here, that would potentially delay the other items for at least a month. I mean, we'd have to look at the timeframes, and that in itself might be considered restrictive or burdensome. There's just a lot of permutations and considerations for this that we would definitely have to sit down and really kind of talk this out.
So basically what we're trying to do today is come up with all the questions that need to be answered so that they can be looked over by the attorney to see if we are in fact making something more burdensome.
And you gave me a thought on that.
Go right
if
ahead.
You do come up with that, is there a way to, is it even a possibility to run that through Tallahassee to make sure that what we're doing complies, or do we just have to wait and see if we get sued?
Yeah, I think we'd have to use our own judgment based on the information that
We couldn't get an opinion from the Attorney General?
I'd have to talk with the county attorney about that.
Thank you.
Did you want to add something, Whitney?
Yeah, I just think that we would definitely, like Lisa said, want to dissect kind of some of the things that you all might want to see versus things you wouldn't, because you wouldn't want to see a type 2 variances that weren't eligible for a type 1, that are just a one-off type of thing that aren't tied to a development proposal. So just kind of narrowing that scope, or maybe even looking at the type 1s and increasing kind of the percentage of those, because we do have a lot of code compliance cases that come along that may be something that someone inherited, and it might be a garage that's been extended that they had no knowing of, and they need to fix it, and they might need to come for a variance, and it might trigger that type 2. So those are the kinds of things that we need to really dissect to make sure that what's coming before you is something that you really want to weigh in on, type of thing.
So we need to be compassionate along with everything else.
Always.
Okay, Vice Mayor, done?
Thank you.
Commissioner Flores.
Yeah, going to Vice Mayor Baxter's point, I don't see that as being more burdensome. I see that as being quicker or more reactive. That way, if it gets denied over there, it comes right back to us in 30 days. I would think they would want that. I mean, we're talking if it gets denied, correct? Mm-hmm. I would think they would. I think people coming before us would want to do that. That's my point of view. I'm not an attorney. I got attorneys here to make that decision, but that's the way I see that. I do like the waivers component that you're mentioning, so that's something that I would be in favor of. Zoning commission, these commissioners, do they have briefings with you guys?
No.
That's my whole point here, is now they're coming, to an appeal process. They usually don't get a briefing from staff, and it's purely on them to do their research and their homework based on their skill level and whatever acumen, they bring to the table to do this all on their own. And yet they're deciding on appeals. I don't know that that's the best place for them to be deciding this. And I would also recommend that you guys make yourself available to these zoning commissioners so that they're prepared when they have these meetings. Because I have heard some feedback that they weren't completely sure of how to vote or where staff stood, or so I would try to make someone from the team at least available to do some briefings with them prior to their commission meeting.
Well, we're always accessible, and I think everyone always knows how I really feel, so I'm surprised that someone on the zoning commission would say that we weren't very clear in our staff reports that they receive them a good 5 days in advance of the hearings. Every paper that you receive, the zoning commission receives, even if it's like 2 inches thick of paper. So Wendy and I are always accessible. There is one in particular that calls all the staff all the time. But I haven't heard from anyone in forever that's on that board.
We do this for a living. They work their full-time jobs or whatever they do, and then they get this added on. So I would say briefings with them at least 20, 30 minutes would be also good to be available. And I would, if we could change that appeal to the zoning commission to be to us, might be better.
Thank you. Commissioner Sachs.
Lisa and staff, is a very important discussion we're having today. And before I forget, let me confirm what the Vice Mayor and Commissioner Flores said. The Zoning Commission Type 2 variances should appeal to the BCC, period. In order to get to a writ of certiorari to the circuit court, it's going to take a lot of money, a lot of time, and you need a lawyer. I hope nobody's listening to this who's a lawyer, because I always agree we should hire lawyers. However, we are the people, it should come to the BCC. So I agree with my colleagues on that one issue. Secondly, the Zoning Commission, let me just say this. They're a little afraid of y'all. Not afraid of us, because I hear from them, and they're not quite sure what to do. And again, as Commissioner Flores said, they have their professions, and this is something that is it's an aside voluntary thing that they do to contribute. So they don't want to appear like they're not that well-versed in all this complicated land use issues. So please, if you have someone who would just chat with them a little bit or have some kind of Zoom call to them all, I think it would be very helpful, because they do come, at least I don't know about my colleague, but they do come to me about, what we should do. Also, I don't care if it's cumbersome. This land use is so important to the people. And I want it to be accessible to them and transparent, easy to come to us. You guys do a great job, but bring it on to us in terms of anything that you can. I don't care if it's cumbersome. That's my job. It's my job. So bring it on to us as much as you can when you're determining this to make it more accessible to our constituents. And I think one of the issues that came up under the Vice Mayor also previously is how do we make this a little more affordable so that people can afford to come to their government for changes. So if we could look at a sliding scale of for the fees, and I think it's $20,000 and up for someone to come for, for land use or something like that, and then they should really hire a lobbyist. So if we can review how we could do it on a sliding scale, like we do for other government services, and I'm thinking representation before the court. People can represent themselves, but they can also have a sliding scale of what they can pay. So I think that's important. And I think that this is a very, very important issue that you're going through. Whatever we can make. Also, I've requested from our attorney to give us a copy of that Senate bill. I think everybody should have a copy of it, including the committee notes, so that regular people can understand this law. We have not had to my knowledge, and I'm looking at our lawyers, but I know the answer to this. We have not had a test of this new law when it comes to land use and variances and things. So I think we all need to have a copy of it. It's a law that was made by our legislators. We can understand it with the committee notes. And then if we need to push it, let's push it. It's Palm Beach. So I haven't gotten a copy yet from our county, but I know he's going to be.
I sent it to you.
I know you did. I know
Okay.
you did. I just can't find it. But that way everybody will get a copy of it, and that way we can look at it. Please include the committee notes. It makes it a little easier to understand. Thank you. This is a very important discussion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for this update. So, starting off with the waivers, I think that's excellent. To the extent that we can implement waivers, I think that's the right thing to do. I think you're on the right path, and so spending more time on that is something I would 100% support. The use of waivers makes a lot more sense, and as you said, I mean, the way the regs work, and they were done for a very good reason, but self-inflicted issues don't count for a variance, and a lot of times it's exactly what we want to see, though, in the projects. And so we want to see that innovation. We want to see people, bringing new ideas, and sometimes our own regulations get in the way. So I'm 100% behind you spending more time on that. So I had the pleasure of serving on the Planning Commission for the City of West Palm Beach for over a decade. Knew nothing when I got on that board about land use, but I did ask for their Unified Land Development Code. Good for me, I was on a sailing trip and was able to spend many, many hours reading it. But I think it's incumbent upon people that serve in these positions. Yes, it's voluntary. Yes, they have other things to do, but they have a responsibility if they're going to serve in these positions. I agree with my colleagues that I think it's important that staff be available to provide the guidance for them as well. I don't know if they need briefings, with everything, but they certainly need the ability to get access to staff. For whether it's legal, whether it's zoning, whether it's planning, or any of the other areas of expertise that you all have, make available to us, they need to have that available as well. So I'm a little, because the other thing, the briefings take time. That'll take additional time out of their day as well. So asking them to do another meeting on top of what, the homework that they're doing, and then the meetings that they're attending, and I know their meetings can run as long or longer than board meetings. Because I think they typically always get presentations as well. I don't think they skip them like sometimes we do, because we've had the briefings and we've gone through the application. And I appreciate the comments on the sliding scale. I think that, and I thought that was a good idea. But as I've been thinking about it, I think it's also, in addition to the income of the individual or their ability, if they're representing themselves, the size of what it is that they're doing. I think that makes a difference as well. If it's a single family home, or and they're splitting a lot or something like that, that makes sense to me. But if they've got if they're developing a large parcel and they're going to be doing multiple lots and, a whole site plan and everything else, I'm not so certain that I would want to waive those fees, because there's a cost to staff doing that. And I believe the way it's defined is that these are really reimbursements for the cost of somebody making these changes. I mean, we obviously, I want to protect people's property rights and allow them to be able to, do what's allowable on their property. But there's also a cost that government that nobody else is getting the direct benefit out of. And so that's a direct benefit to that property owner. So I just want to make sure that that's done fairly. But to the extent we can make it a little easier, I think that's good as well. So, I'd ask that you come back, and spend more time on this. The flex regs. Look, you all are professional. We have we have the best professional staff, and you all know what you're doing. And to have more flexibility, to get things done faster, more efficiently, both for our staff and for the folks trying to get the work done, is something we all, I think we all aspire to. So the more flexibility we give you all, the faster things get done. And as long as it's meeting good quality standards that we have here in Palm Beach County, then I'm 100% supportive.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to go to page 28, your slide with your recommendations, and very much agree with reevaluating the waivers and changing some of I guess it's more cleaning up the categories that if it's a variance that could be a waiver, I very much support doing the work for that. And as far as us changing like where they fall in the process on who they would appeal to, I think if it adds another meeting, I mean, we're kind of giving the choice to the applicant. Do they want to amend their application so they don't need it, or do they want to come to us to appeal it? So I don't see it as being more restrictive. I see it being as your choice. You have a choice. You could come to this board and maybe you get it overturned, maybe you don't, or you could make the changes where you don't need to ask for that in the first place. So I think if we approach it in that way, that we're adding an option to the applicant, it's not more restrictive.
Sure, and I think we can sit down with staff and go through each process and look at the timing and the boards and the entities that are involved and kind of break down each option and see where we're at based on that.
Okay, well, that would be my recommendation, to do that, because we're about adding choices for applicants, not making it more restrictive. Thank you for this.
I agree. Flexibility is not burdensome. It's really giving people an opportunity to do the best project they can on the parcel that they have. So where are we and what do we need, Attorney Stone? Because we now have 2 motions left.
Well, we don't need any motions on this one. It's just I've been putting this on the back burner to bring to you because I couldn't bring any solutions, only questions. So if we've heard you, we'll go back. If you're interested in seeing changes to these, we'll work with Scott and Darren and Wendy, and we'll see what we can do and gnaw on it a little bit more. We just, this has been delayed for like a year because I couldn't come up with the solution, and sometimes it's way easier to come up with the questions and concepts. So if you're supportive of making some changes, of course, we're still going to bring in flex regs to the board independent of a big picture change. But if you're interested in us spending the time to work more, we will work more and then come back.
I think you heard consensus that yes, that would be the answer. Commissioner Sachs?
Madam Mayor, have we skipped over or we have an opportunity to discuss government service uses?
That's
up. The next, that's the next part of the presentation.
Thank you.
All right, so for the finale, government services. We had a discussion a couple months ago from the board, bring us back information on government services and uses. So we have a government service uses in the code, and what you have, I did the presentation initially on just the government services use, but I went ahead and made a cheat sheet of all the different, and it's in the add delete, of all the different types of uses that also could be considered government services, such as parks, animal shelters, homeless research center, jail, prison, school, landfill, utilities, solid waste transfer, water waste transfer, treatment plant, airport, heliport. There's a bunch of different kinds of government service uses. We also have a public ownership zoning district. So government services use, the use itself is allowed in nearly all zoning districts. The public ownership zoning district is a special zoning district that we put on properties typically that we want to build. Now that zoning district is allowed in all future land use designations, and what you get if you're rezoned to public ownership is you have the ability to apply for deviations from the code, which are not a waiver and they're not a variance, it's a deviation, and I didn't invent that. That's just been around in the code for a long time. So you will see before you sometimes, if you remember the fair, we did a rezoning to a part of the fair, maybe in the spring, and we also had a PO deviation that allowed different setbacks and things because it's the fair. Because sometimes if you're doing government services, you're having a peculiar building that is gonna need a particular design or smokestacks or something. We did a deviation on somewhere near the sheriff. So this is just a slide with some examples of civic and government uses. So the government services use is one of maybe 10 different uses. It's for buildings and facilities owned or operated by a government entity that provides services to the public, and that mentions the handout. This is that one particular use. This is the approval process. Depending on the zoning district, it could vary from a DRO approval to a Board of County Commissioners Class A approval. And again, this is just the government services use. Every use in that matrix can be approved in different ways on the matrix there. Public ownership zoning is something that we give to properties and go before you so we could pursue those public services. And then that's the public ownership deviation. It's kind of a variance or waiver, but it's not. It's something that you approve when there's a government facility that needs some sort of alternate design. So we don't have any findings on this one. We don't have any recommendations. And another, I should say, another government kind of operation is the natural areas that has its own future land use designation conservation and its own zoning district, the preservation conservation. I didn't put those in this. But yeah, there's government services uses, there's government facilities, there's different approval processes, and that's just what we wanted to present, purely information on this one.
Commissioner Sachs?
Thank you so much. Could you just repeat what you said about government uses in public lands? So if there is a park and the government wants to put in a use, could be a post office, right? Could be anything that the government wants to do as a public use, they would then be able to go into that public park or conservation area and without any approval by the public, which is where the public.
The natural areas, they can't do anything in those areas.
In the natural land.
In the natural lands.
We just had a great example of that with the pickleball courts in our natural lands. But how about, what's a public land as opposed to a natural area?
Well, for example, Lake Lytle Park is public ownership zoning, and outside of zoning arena, there was an agreement on the new YMCA. So that was an item that went to the board, and then when we reviewed it, and because it was public ownership zoning, it was permitted by right. So they went to the building permit, and zoning staff only reviewed it for concurrency purposes, which is water, sewer, paving, drainage kind of things.
Right, but if the government decided they were going to put some government use in a public park, in one of our parks, I just want to be sure, as we discuss this, as you review it, that we have some notice and an opportunity to be heard about it. That public park may be next to, a school, or and I think I would like for you to look into other government uses in our public parks. As to whether they can do it or not is a different issue. I'd like to see it that it would be up for public review.
I think, and Patrick Rutter could expand, I don't know how.
Patrick's light is actually on, so.
Okay, yeah, because I don't know how things come. Usually I'm at the tail end when it comes to that.
And that's where I was going to go. We're essentially talking about a two-step process. This is the second half of it. Is it permitted uses working through the development process? This board will see, as a matter of policy brought by FDO, whether it's utilizing a civic site for a use or lands we otherwise have for a specific use, or another department expanding, modifying a function they serve and changing it. This board will see it first in that policy arena before it gets to zoning world.
I just want to make sure that any government uses in our public parks come before the board, and that's fine. And then the second thing, which has always concerned me, is actually there's two other things. One is an example of putting in a division of driver's licenses in an area that was not subject to public discussion. And I know that we've had discussions about that, and I don't want to point that particular one out. It's just that this has been up for discussion, and a lot of discussion in my district. Will we be able to at least review having the public have a discussion as to whether some of these government services will be allowed in their districts?
Well, currently in this slide shows the different kinds of zoning districts and the different type of approval process. If it was agricultural residential or a residential zoning district, a constitutional officer request would have to go before this board as a Class A approval. But some of the zoning districts, such as urban center, urban infill, agricultural reserve, institutional public facilities, some of those other zoning districts, it just is a DRO administrative approval.
And
So
that's
what
something I'd like to review. And I know there's been discussion on this, because I know you mentioned unless they have an alternative design or a waiver, otherwise it just goes right in the agricultural reserve, and any of the districts here that would be considered that, such as the urban, central urban, we just have a DRO approval, and that could be for any government use just moving right into our district without us having this open discussion. And that's something I would hope that you would review closer as this item moves forward. And a third thing that is an issue to me is to have law enforcement, which is a government use, as defined here, move into an area that could be next to a church, next to a school, next to the Caridad Center, and I'm talking about ICE. And I think that this is something that we need to keep an eye on and at least have this discussion come before the board, before they have a unilateral, permission to put one of these law enforcement stations close to an area that may not be the best suited for that type of law enforcement. So if you could also review that as well, I appreciate it.
I think it probably would be a good time to discuss detention centers with the deputy county administrator and the executive director, because a prison, jail, or correctional facility has to be a Class A conditional use only in institutional or public ownership zoning. So I think we should discuss behind the scenes and be prepared if that comes down the road, if it would fall in government services umbrella or if it would be a prison, to be prepared if something like that ever comes up.
Well, it concerns me, staff, and colleagues, is that they would go ahead and start it. And it's federal government. And then we would be faced with having to say, no, you need public approval before you put that detention center, or an ICE station, immigration control enforcement, close to the Caridad Center or close to a church or an elementary school. I would rather see us have these regulations in place before that may or may not occur. But I think that as a preventative, it would be wise for us to have that in place already, rather than have them move in and then for us to try to disengage it. So I would like for you to review that as well. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Patrick, your light is still on.
Just one little piece. Just want to be clear. What we're talking about here is unincorporated Palm Beach County with the uses. County also has a number of facilities. I can think of South County Admin, for instance, which are within municipalities. This doesn't even apply in that world. This board will give us direction on what to do with those facilities, but the entitlements will come from them. So this process and this procedure could be totally different for facilities that we control within a municipality. As it relates to the other one Commissioner Sachs was referencing, let us do some research. We have preclusions that exist in some areas, but let us do some work on that.
I appreciate that very much, Mr. Rutter, because my entire district is unincorporated. And I think there are many colleagues of mine who have portions of unincorporated. So rather than say, oh, they shouldn't have been here, let's make sure that we have the rules in place, or at least discuss whether we want the rules in place before they become part of our population here. All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of your presentation. Again, I'm going to turn to Attorney Stone and say we have 2 more motions to be made.
Those were actually all for the, there were 3 motions for the Green Market. And
We only made one, though. We only made the first one.
Yeah, he made 3.
I was under the impression that they were all being handled together, but if you'd like to do it again.
That wasn't my interpretation, but okay. No, we had a motion. If that's your interpretation of that, we had the motion in the second already.
We could ask the clerk if that was what was captured, just to make sure.
Okay. That was not my understanding, but thank you. Good clarification. All righty. So we are now done. You have direction from the board. Or do you have any questions for us?
No, we just have the add-on item for Twee. And we're going to do a little shuffle while she comes up.
We're doing the Boynton Beach add-on now?
Yes, Boynton Beach add-on.
I know.
I know that Commissioner Woodward has a hard stop at 11:45. Did you have a 12? Okay. All right.
She can come up. We made all this space.
Hard on. I mean, the add-on. Say that. I didn't say that, did I?
Good morning, Commissioner. Twee Shutt for the record, and I'll make this as brief as I could with time for you and the public for questions. Okay. Could you bring the presentation up? And I apologize for the lateness of the agenda packet. We feel this warrants a conversation and to make the board aware. Okay. So again, this is, in general, I just want to do a brief overview of the annexations. There's 4 different types of annexations that the board will see. Typically, it's, you'll see it through your Tuesday meeting. In this particular case, this is a voluntary annexation. The other annexation includes referendum. It also includes enclave annexation, which you see with the interlocal agreements. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Again, legislative. And then also the special, or we call it the exclusive method of voluntary annexations. So what we're going to go through right now is just the voluntary annexation. Again, annexation is covered under the Florida statutes, Chapter 171, and those various annexations have been described under this chapter. The 2 that we are looking at today is a part of the larger piece that the City of Boynton Beach had discussed with their commissioners and their constituency back in January 16th, 2024. It's a very large annexation area, as shown on here. This is an excerpt from the City Commission presentation back in January. And it would entail approximately 34,000 residents, possibly, if all these areas were to be entertained to be annexed. Again, on the top left, yellow square, that is the Palmyra annexation that we will be looking to update you. And then the lower right is the Bamboo Lane annexation. Okay, Palmyra is in District 2, Commissioner Wise's district. This is approximately 34 acres, consisting of 123 lots, and located at the southwest corner of Lawrence Road and Hypoluxo Road. What's unique about these two annexations, it's a voluntary, however, it is by power of attorney, and the city asserts that through the power of attorney, through their utility agreement, that in this case, the water service agreement, they have consent from all property owners. Bamboo Lane, again, this is in the eastern corner of the map shown previously, and this involves 4.6 acres to be annexed, and it's located approximately 570 feet south of the intersection of Dixie and Federal Highway on the east side. So in this particular case, there's 15 lots, and 5 of which have been has been sold since the original water service agreement. So the city has held its first hearing for the annexation back in last week on the 18th. There were some residents that are concerned and in opposition of the annexation. And they're holding a second hearing as required by statutes on October 7th. So the issue before the board right now, just so that the board is aware and, given some time to direct staff for future action. So the issues really are these consent that are based on power of attorney appropriate. If there's any questions, I'm here. And Darren also can answer.
Thank you. We actually have 2 cards. Commissioner Weiss, you want to go before the cards or after? Okay.
Barbara Roth and Debbie Murphy.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Well, here we are. Annexation. I've started every one of my COBRA meetings since I became president, April of 2024. When I do president's remarks, I start with annexation. We became aware of this in January of 2024. We have been circulating a petition for a year and a half, and we're delighted that we're finally getting some attention. We knew this was coming. It's starting in Commissioner Weiss's District 2. Very clever first foray. Salvo, I would say, because Palmyra is an unusual situation, half city, half county. We can get into a whole discussion about voluntary, and I welcome questions to allow me to elaborate, but I don't want to take too much time now. They're starting in District 2. There's also a notice in Monday's Palm Beach Post for a piece of commercial property on the north side of Boynton Beach Boulevard, also District 2, and there were no postings for that. They are starting to nip away. And be assured that the next districts affected will be District 4, Commissioner Woodward, and District 5, Commissioner Sachs. We knew this, and we have known this. We urge you to the extent that we can assist you. We have a great deal of historical knowledge and information on this. COBRA's been through this before. My apologies, I don't think I said I was speaking specifically on behalf of COBRA, but we have seen this playbook. The city of Boynton Beach needs revenue. This is nothing but a desperate attempt to gain properties that will provide them with more revenue. As to the issue of voluntary, in the last week, because we were at that Boynton City meeting last Thursday night, we spoke with residents there. We have spoken with them since, as recently as yesterday, and we have been invited to Palmyra's meeting this evening. They do not know what's going on. They simply do not know what's going on. They were not invited to an informational session, something that I know our county staff does so well. They bring in possibly affected people. No, this has not happened. So Palmyra is only the first. And again, I would welcome any questions to go on. My colleague, Debbie Murphy, will continue. Thank you.
Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, for being here and taking time to come and talk to us about this. I obviously have deep concerns about this, and I'd like to ask you more about this voluntary. I know I have an understanding of it, but can you share with us your understanding of how they're going about to try and do this?
The issue of power of attorney is something that we've been looking at along with our partners, the first responders in Palm Beach County, and I should say your amazing first responders, fire rescue, and PBSO, have been looking into the issue of what are legitimate powers of attorney. Case by case, we have heard that people have been told, I took an oath to tell the truth today, so I cannot give you those names. People have been told that they have no choice, that because they're receiving water services from the city, that they must sign this over. You will see on some of those that the power of attorney has been signed over to the city manager of the city of Boynton Beach, and that's what you'll see on the bottom of some of this documentation. These people bought a home in a lovely community. They flush their toilets, they turn their faucet on, they've got their services. They did not expect or understand. And by the way, that whole issue of the cost to them has been misreported as recently as in today's Palm Beach Post. It will absolutely cost them more to live, to be listed as the city of Boynton Beach and pay taxes to the city. In addition, some people have looked at the relative cost to their home insurance and their automobile insurance because they suddenly live in the city of Boynton Beach. So I'm sorry I got off the power of attorney issue, but it's all connected, and especially in terms of the residents not understanding.
And were you, I mean, I think I read the same article, but are you aware of people being threatened with their water being disconnected if they don't sign the power of attorney?
I cannot say that I'm aware of that. If you've heard it anecdotally, I have not heard that. All I know is that they were told, you get your services, you have no choice. Now, I don't know what no choice means. No, I have not heard of that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'd first like to say that I did not get sworn in. I arrived after the beginning of the meeting. Do I need to?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter? Okay, thank you. Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. In May of 2024, an article in the Palm Beach Post was written by Boynton Beach City Manager Dan Duggar. In it, he implied that COBRA was premature in our concern about the city's proposed annexation of 30-some COBRA member communities, which had, of course, been announced in January of 2024. He suggested that we wait for the results of the feasibility study, and he also referenced crossing a bridge when we come to it. Well, it appears that they are crossing this bridge at this point. To date, we have not heard anything about their feasibility study, and so we are absolutely in opposition of this. While Palmyra is not a member of COBRA, their community is located within our boundary. This proposal concerns us. COBRA, I am pretty sure that you are all aware that COBRA definitely opposes annexation of our member communities, and as are the residents of those communities. During our investigation of the annexation process, I came across a document called the Voluntary Annexation Process Overview, which was published by Palm Beach County. It outlines the hearing notifications, adoption, and final processing of annexation. If this process is still viable, then I believe the city has not been in compliance with regard to Palmyra, as well as the property at 3604 West Boynton Beach Boulevard, which was noticed in the Palm Beach Post as being annexed by the city as of Monday. The annexation process overview states that at least 5 members of the BCC is required to approve annexation when it comes before you in the future. And of course, we urge 5 of you to say no. We urge 7 of you to say no. Those of us who live in the potential annexation areas, I happen to be one of them, are very happy with the services we enjoy from PBSO and Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, and don't see value in the increased taxes, which, by the way, will be increased at 20+%. For substituting the services being provided by the city for those that we already enjoy from the county. It purely is a money grab. That is it. I would like to comment, if I may, on Commissioner Weiss's question about Bamboo Lane and whether or not they have had their water. Well, I don't know as a personal experience, but when we were at the commission meeting last Thursday night, the city commission meeting, there was a person who got up and stated that they had threatened him. So for what that's worth, it is what it is. So if there are any questions that I can answer, both Barbara and I are here for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Staff, the ball is back in your court right now. Commissioner Sachs, your light is on.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like the record to reflect that last night at 5:30, my office received this. I don't even know how many pages it is, Mr. Rutter, but it's voluminous. At 5:39 last night, I received a notice that this would be an add-on to today's agenda. This is not the way it works in Palm Beach County. I don't know why that occurred, and there is a lot of information here to digest. I am not prepared to, because of the late notice. Is there a reason why we received this at that late notice? Anybody want to, Mr. Rutter?
Be happy to. Yes, apologize for the lateness on this one. This is an item where the City of Boynton Beach will be taking up action on this early in October, and we felt the need to be in front of the board and take any direction you may or may not have on this now. Not the next opportunity we would have at the board would either be next Tuesday at our workshop or on the October 7th when the city would be taking it up. We wanted to get this opportunity to take any feedback. We apologize. Recognize there is a lot there. But as we have done in the past, over the past year and a half or so, where we've had a variety of different annexation presentations, if you will, a number of types that have occurred through time, and we've always come to this board to get any feedback or direction you have, felt it very important to do this. Respect that. We would love to get it faster, understand this is unfortunately as quickly as we could. We apologize for that.
No, and I know it's inadvertent. It's just that this particular annexation affects 3 districts, but it also affects the whole concept of taxation without representation. I mean, really, 20% increase in taxes. Is the city of Boynton Beach present today? I don't see anybody who has put in a card. I am completely I cannot vote one way or the other, consider this in a professional and learned way. With this coming in at this hour, unless there's some egregious reason that we would have to do this by a certain hour today, then I think that what we need to do is we need to, in whatever way you all think, and I'll leave it up to you, Mr. Rutter, but 5:39, 5:36, and then 5:39 to put it on an agenda for this morning on a very important issue is really not proper. And I certainly cannot, I don't know whether to say no or yay, because I just haven't received it in enough time. The applicant, the city of Boynton Beach, I haven't heard from. Maybe they have a very good argument, but I haven't heard from them or received any email. And I'm speaking only on behalf of myself. I don't know about my colleagues, but I cannot make a decision on this today. Thank you.
So if I may,
Go ahead, Darren.
At this time, there's not a decision for this board to make, other than you could direct us to send a letter of objection, right? But at this point, until the city actually approves the ordinance at the second reading, at that time, we can do a resolution to initiate 164 procedures to challenge the annexation if we want to, but that's at a later date. That's not now. So right now, it's to bring it to your attention, and if you want to direct us to send a letter of objection.
Well, I'm going to hand this off to Commissioner Weiss.
First, thank you. Thank you. And absolutely, Senda, I would ask that my colleagues support sending a letter of objection. The way this is being handled, the residents have not had an opportunity to speak on this, to be well informed about what is happening. I think this whole thing needs to be slowed down by our colleagues down in Boynton Beach to give them an opportunity to understand what's in front of them. The whole idea that this idea of power of attorney gives them the right to voluntarily annex, I think that's a novel concept, but I also would like our staff to look at, is it possible for us to provide water to these communities and replace Boynton Beach with providing their water utility? I think there's, to the extent this is something that, I've never seen a feasibility report. I read that same article. They said, oh yeah, there was going to be a feasibility report. It never happened. You want to say something to
Yeah, just to let you know, the board directed me when I first came on board in June, because of the questions that the public had forwarded to us, to pay attention and have regular meetings. And we've been having, communication with the staff at the city quarterly, and you've been provided pretty much quarterly the status of that, which is no change. As late as the last quarterly report we just gave you, and I usually do it under the planning director's comments. We did come because these two were advertised for August 19th, and that didn't meet our statutory requirements, so they postponed it until last Thursday and upcoming October. But yes, so we are in contact with the city staff, and the report on the feasibility study has not changed. They have not given us any updates on that at all, other than there's nothing that's changed. So we have not received any.
Thank you. All right. Really, that's the crux of my comments on this.
I'll second Mr.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward and then Vice Mayor Baxter.
Thank you, Mayor. And I would like to, I agree with what Commissioner Weiss is asking. My little parcel, it's much smaller. It's one of those little pockets that's surrounded. However, I'm reading this, and the 5 parcels have the power of attorney that's not signed, and then the 10 have it through the water service agreement. I just, I think that this is not a great way to do this. And these are well, whether they're in the city or the county, they're our constituents, but in this case, it's important that we know what, I'd like to hear from them. And I think, that's part of what's happening here, but they're going to second hearing on October 7th. And, a water service agreement, that's just, it's not a great way to do it. Hopefully our partners in the city maybe can hear this and understand where we're coming from and where, the people we're representing don't know that just because they get their water from the city, that suddenly means one day they become part of the city. There's ways to do this. There's a number of annexation options. I think that hopefully we could come to a better way to get there if this ends up happening instead of, just saying you have power of attorney because of a water agreement. So I would support the letter, and hopefully they hear us.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do support the letter, so thank you. Also, I wanted to ask, what is the legality of them being able to disconnect their water if they don't agree to this?
So I don't know for sure, but I would think that from the town's perspective, they're arguing that they already have the consents, all the consents that they need through these powers of attorney. So there will be no disconnection of water because they're just going to go through with this, and that's going to be the end of it, right? Unless they get challenged. So that's been their position to us, is that they feel that they're on solid legal ground. Our position is that these powers of attorney, especially the ones that haven't been signed by the current owners, are tenuous and not necessarily comply with the statute. And so that's our primary issue.
I think it's egregious trying to not give residents a voice or a vote in the matter if they want to participate in saying you have no options. Here you go, you have to do this. It's very sad. I would like if we can maybe get some information and potentially with all the misinformation out there, and I don't know what this will look at legally, if you could bring us back some information that we may be able to send out to those residents, because they are Palm Beach County residents. Yes, they live in the city, but send out information to them. I don't know if what that looks like, a postcard with a QR code that takes them to a site. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you guys. But just so that they know that is it legal for them to what they can and can't do? What are their options? I think the worst thing as a resident is feeling you have no options.
Well, they do. So they would have standing if
Or
this.
they don't live in the city yet, excuse me.
So they.
If they don't want to.
Yeah, so let's say October 7th comes, the city approves it. They would have standing to challenge the city's adoption of that ordinance because they are in the annexation area. They are considered an affected party, and so they would have standing to challenge, which would be by, we discussed it earlier, a petition for certiorari in the circuit court.
And again, I think getting that, letting them know if we can get a legal opinion, we have plenty of attorneys, and be able to send that to them on what their options are. We're not telling them what to do, but say you have options.
I'm loath to give them legal advice. I'm not their attorneys, but I understand sending them a notice and pointing them to the statutes so that they could certainly
decide what they want to do. That would be amazing.
Thank you.
Just to add, Commissioners and Mayor and Vice Mayor, we do have an annexation webpage on the Planning Division that also has all the annexations, all the types of annexations on there. But I'll be more than happy if there's anyone that has any questions, we can walk them through that, because it is a lot of legal language that they're not used to as specified in this. And this is unusual because we haven't, in my time here and even former life here, haven't had one of these.
And interestingly enough, while this is in South County that's happening, some of this same verbiage is up in Jupiter. And and that would affect some unincorporated areas in Jupiter also. I guess our question is, what is the legality of being able to put into these documents that you're turning over your power of attorney? And unless they've been questioned before, we don't have the answer to that, and that's really what we'd be searching also.
Right, and I have not been able to find any case law on point on this issue. I'm not aware of any situation where voluntary annexation has been processed through this power of attorney, but I am aware that it is out there. There are other jurisdictions that have these similar powers of attorney. So it's a gray area of the law.
Unless they're questioned about it.
Correct.
they're gonna
Unless somebody
continue to do
challenges
this.
it, yes, we're not going to see any
The
type
county's
of
going to
decision.
challenge this. I think I speak for the rest of the board when I say the county is going to challenge this on all fronts.
It also sounds like we may have some landowners that may.
Well, they have our support. Commissioner Sacks and Commissioner Flores.
You're absolutely correct, Mayor and Vice Mayor. This is an issue that is, this really, to summarize it, and thanks, Twee, for all the work you've done on it. There are pockets in the county that are county. They're not city. They do not belong to a city. They're county. But for some reason, they are receiving city services. Therefore, there is the argument that by their receiving city services, they are going to be annexed into the city and subject to city taxation. This is a legal issue. And the attorney for the cities need to file something in circuit court to annex property that belongs to the county and to bring residents into additional taxation. So this is a legal issue. It's an interesting legal issue because now these residents who have always been members of the county are going to be subject to additional taxation without a vote. If a neighborhood says, I want to be part of the city, let them have a referendum and vote to be part of the city. But just to say, you're getting city water, you must be part of our city, subject to library taxation, all the other taxation that cities have. So this is really an issue for the county, for the lawyers, not really for a board of county commissioners. And I would recommend to our county lawyers that you handle this, please, and then report back to us, because I've got residents, every one of us, you know, Commissioner Weiss, also Commissioner Woodward and myself, but not so much myself, but we have residents that could be subject to additional taxation without any type of representation. So if I may, Madam Mayor, if I could ask our attorneys to review this and give us a report so that we can best represent our residents. And certainly Cobra represents how many 100,000 residents in West Boynton, to let people have a concise, legal argument that we should, as county, tell the city attorneys what the project, what our argument is.
Right.
And if you could do that, sir, could you?
We will send the city the objection letter, and then if they approve the annexation, we will have to come back to you to get a resolution to initiate the 164 intergovernmental dispute resolution process.
We also need, if I may, an opinion letter from our county attorney's office as to the legality of cities attempting to annex county property without due process. Can we have that opinion letter?
That is, so there are statutory ways that the city can annex property. I'm not sure what kind of an opinion letter, other than summarizing those processes.
Yes, sir. Especially for what the issue is today on this.
Fine.
So that we have a legal basis for what we want to say to our constituents. If I may, Madam Mayor, if we could have an opinion letter from our county attorney's office stating on this particular Boynton Beach that this is the law, this is where the county's position is on this. That's why it's an opinion letter.
Well, that would be the objection letter.
Exactly. No, it isn't, sir.
Well, why would it would be if I'm going to send a letter of objection to to the city saying, these are the legal reasons we think your
Send it to
objection.
us.
Yeah.
Opinion letter is a little different than a letter of objection,
Okay.
sir.
I will do both.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam.
Commissioner Flores.
Yeah, I think this board is all in agreement from what it sounds like. We would like to appeal this. If this is truly voluntary, they would either be able to change their water utilities, which they can't right now. And two, if it was voluntary, they would have to vote. They're not getting a vote here. They're being forced to go in there. So I think there's some legality here that they should be protected. And I don't want to discuss it right now. What I want you to do, and our legal team, is to go back and arm this board to be able to represent these people and help them. Because if they want to go out and have a vote and they get a referendum, they decide that they willingly are going into Boynton Beach, then that's fine by me, because that was their decision. But what they're doing is not that. So arm us, this board, to be able to make a decision to be able to appeal this on behalf of these residents, who are our residents. So I would like that to be brought back as much as you possibly can by the next workshop, if it's okay with this board. So it's about a week from now. And I think you have direction from Commissioner Weiss to also write this letter.
Just for clarification, we can't object until they vote, correct?
No, we can send them an objection letter, and they can do what they want with it.
Okay.
They can
include that in
say
their
yay,
presentation.
they can say, no, we disagree, we approve. Once they've approved, then we have 30 days to come back and begin the dispute, the intergovernmental dispute initiation. And then the residents also have 30 days from that time to file any court challenges that they want.
So I think I can close the loop on this. The board is against this. The board wants a letter sent, and they want an opinion letter sent, which Commissioner Sachs has already asked for. Is that doable?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, then I think we have consensus.
And it'll be September 30th workshop meeting?
As
We'll
fast as you
agenda
can
that?
bring it to us.
Okay, all right.
Okay? Thank you. All right, I think we're done with this. So now we are on to the end of our agenda. And any comments from any of our directors? We'll go right ahead.
I'm sorry. I wanted to just update you on our customer assistance team that we're developing over at Planning, Zoning, and Building. We are in a very soft launch on that. That's going to be used to help. Yes, I left a memo there for you to have a little bit more detail on it. We're not doing referrals as of yet, but we have 2 people that are committed to working on the business plan and the model and everything. So we'll be bringing more updates to you as we fully launch that. And then I have some bittersweet news to share with you. Our current zoning director is actually moving on to another role. She's been with Palm Beach County, Planning, Zoning, and Building for almost 30 years, and she is now going to be. She's accepted a job with the Ag Extension Office, and she will be working directly with PZB and with the agricultural community on being a great liaison. It's really a great role, and I think that we'll still get the benefit of having Lisa in our lives and having her input and wisdom and all of those good things that we will really miss at PZB, but we're not losing her completely. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you all. And Wendy Hernandez has offered to step in as interim in the meantime, and we'll be moving on. Lisa will still be at the next meeting, just sitting nearby, but not officially as zoning director. So. Thank you.
Well, I think on behalf of the board, we say we're going to miss you in this role, but we're glad that you're not going too far, because if we want to pick your brain, we're going to. Thank you. Would you like to add anything?
I'll be around next month, and everyone's tired and hungry, so I'll say some words maybe next month. So, and it's not like losing a daughter; it's like gaining the cooperative extension service in this kind of arena. So I'll still be here.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you. Any other? Twee?
Just one quick question. One quick item. Just report on the CTMP. We have coordinated with WSVR consultant, and we are looking. the survey's out there online until October 18th. There's opportunities for us to gain more input, and we've listened to a lot of the people, and you all will be providing 2 in-person meetings. One will be out in the Glades, another will be centrally located in Central County, and then 2 more county-wide virtual meetings, because we've heard from a lot of the professionals from the cities. They couldn't attend. A lot of it is budget time, and also it's at night as well. So please look forward to the notification that WSP will come out. They're looking to book the venues and times right now, and they're thinking they'll be either 6th or 8th on this upcoming October. But it'll probably be the week of the 6th and also the week of the 13th. I know we have a holiday there, but they'll work through that. So 2 more virtual and then 2 more in person. Then in October, they'll start working with the stakeholders. And then November, there'll be another meeting with the technical advisors, or IPARC 2.0 plus. And then also there'll be a SOAR analysis in December. So many exciting things to happen.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores.
And I'm so sorry. I just came back, and then I hear Lisa's leaving now. And I remember when we were baby planners 20-something years ago learning. And, again, I thank her for all her support.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores?
CTMP stands for?
I'm so sorry. Countywide Transportation Master Plan.
Thank you. There's a lot of people at home that watch, and when we use acronyms, not everyone understands.
I understand. It's like Morse code.
Commissioner Sachs?
Ms. Amara's transfer is really subject to board approval. Did you? Yeah, no, right. I
Is that an addendum?
We'll talk more about it later, but no.
Thank you. Patrick, you have anything to add?
I'm just going to pile on with the Lisa part. I've been working with her for getting close to 23 years now. It'll be weird to not see her in planning or zoning realm, but we're definitely this is a great situation, a great opportunity to be able to tap into her knowledge and history in another area, be a great asset for Ron, and will continue to be a great asset for PZB. So best of everything. We'll miss her sitting up there, but yes, she won't be far away.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other comments? Any commissioners want to make a request? Can you make that for me?
I do, but I will do your first if you'd like. I would like to, on behalf of the mayor, request a certificate from the BCC to be presented to the Loyola College on October 3rd at an off-site event recognizing their 100-year anniversary.
Okay, all in favor, all opposed, see that motion carries 5-0.
Mayor.
Thank you. Sir?
Could we clarify the second?
Who made the second? Oh, Commissioner Weiss, thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to request an off-site proclamation declaring October 14th as Charlie Kirk Day.
I can't second.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
All in favor, all opposed, see that motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And I was going to say, as much as I'm going to miss Lisa in zoning, I'm happy to have her at the Ag Extension, helping my agricultural people and policies to help make agricultural strong and stay here forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. 2 things. One is I'm following up, it was approximately, I want to say it was about 5 years ago, started asking about simplifying the ULDC and streamlining it, removing the conflicts that are in it. For those at home who don't know, our ULDC now is like over 1,200 pages plus exhibits. And, well, there it is. There's parts of it actually behind you. I'd made that request. I know you all had been talking about doing something, maybe getting a consultant or whatever to help you do it. But again, I'm just requesting that we get this done. I mean, it's all about trying to help you guys. And I think I said it earlier when it's about, we've moved some in the flex regs and that's been excellent because you've got professional staff to manage this. We need to get things done quicker, be more efficient, and not create more barriers for getting things done. So I really can't impress enough that it needs to get, if it hasn't moved, I know Patrick, you and I have talked about this, it really needs to be moving, and hopefully it happened yesterday.
Do you want me to? I can weigh in on that, Commissioner. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. It's definitely on our radar, and zoning has been doing a terrific job trying to get things organized. We actually have an RFS going out this week for the ULDC reorganization to get rid of the redundancies, inconsistencies, those types of things. Unfortunately, our relationship with FAU didn't pan out as far as having them do the AI review, but we are putting the RFS out today, or not today, actually, this week, so it should be going out this week. And that's just the first phase. And then we'll have to come back with the substantive items. So it's definitely something that we are aware of and will be working on, continuing to work on.
Thank you.
And actually, I'm sorry, and Lisa has promised to help a little bit with some of those revisions in her new role. So we'll be tapping into her expertise on that as well.
I think that's a great idea. And then the second thing, I actually, and thank you, Commissioner Sachs, for following up with me, but I sent a letter already to Representatives Lopez and Overdorf this week. For those who are Jewish, are the first of our high holidays, Rosh Hashanah, which is our new year. And so for those that are watching, I wish you all a very happy new year. But there were committee hearings on this tax committee held on Rosh Hashanah. We have members of our delegation that serve on that committee that were required to be there. We had to send staff up to testify that also are Jewish. To me, it's inappropriate. I think to most people this would be like asking Christians to show up on Easter for a meeting. So I wanted to, and I can only assume they weren't aware, so I've offered to advise them of when all the Jewish holidays are. So if they need that information going forward, but hopefully they can get their own staffs to look at that, but it wasn't appropriate. And it was unfortunate that people could not practice their faith and forced to have to participate. Otherwise, we would not have representation up there. So I just wanted to share that with the board that I had done that.
Thank you. Commissioner Sachs, your light is on.
I want to thank Commissioner Weiss for that because I think Palm Beach County has probably the second largest group of also Holocaust survivors in the country outside of New York. And this is a very important part of who we are as a people. And so I certainly second that, and I hope that doesn't need to be second. It's just something that has to be done, and I appreciate that. And I also want to chime in and thank Whitney Carroll. We're going to be looking at an RFP for a consultant to review the ULDC as well as our zoning ordinances with respect to and I don't know the different, as Commissioner Valora said, the transportation consultants that we have already hired, that this should go hand in hand with a consultant. I believe his name is Dover Cole, if I'm correct, or somebody to that effect, and maybe we could get moving on that with the revision of the ULDC as well, so that transportation issues go hand in hand with zoning ordinances as well. So what do we need to do on that, Ms. Carroll?
We're actually gathering the information. We're going back to the WSP consultant that was hired for the Countywide Transportation Master Plan, asking them for how it would affect their scope that they've already, that they're already under contract for. And we'll bring that information back to the board because I'm sure that it could, need to be expanded. We're actually meeting with purchasing to find out if there's a way to expand on the existing contract to do an addendum or something like that. So we'll bring that information to all of you so you can consider
It's
how
very
you want to move
important
forward.
that time is of the essence because there are a lot of developers who want to continue to develop, and we want to make sure that's consistent with the new proposals for the zoning as well as for transportation. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Any other comments from our board? No comments? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.